Figure TV. Revolutionary salute. Revolutionary salute. Like, share, subscribe. Welcome to the House of Revolution. You know I'm your humble host, the Y'all Mean Revolution. First, let me tell you happy Father's Day to the leaders of the community. If you're standing on righteous revolutionary business and taking care of your family. And then also let us say happy birthday to my revolutionary big homie, Tupac Shakur. I think today I got to set aside the geopolitical segment and get into the F.B.I. war on Tupac. A lot of people like to lie and say the government wasn't harassing or hounding him because they don't want to get into did the government work with his killers. Salute, Queen. So let's get into the life, the legacy, the FBI's harassment of the great revolutionary warrior, Tupac. 1, 2, 3, say it like it really is. You want like it really is. Say it like it really is. You want like it really is. Getting it on and still part of weight.
What was it that got you involved with this story behind Tupac?
So I come from a family of left-wing activists, and I was into left-wing activism, and I was doing drug and alcohol counseling in Baltimore City, and started in 1989 down in Baltimore City, and I was also writing short stories, and I wrote a short story about drugs in society that people wanted me to turn into a novel. It was going to be a kind of an activist novel, and I had a client, we call him, who was an addict and had said my father was a Black Panther killed by the police. So I ended up using him as a character in my novel, and I was researching the Black Panthers, and I found out that the Shakurs were the leading New York City Black Panthers. And so then I came across the fact in 1994 when Tupac Shakur was shot in the New York recording studio lobby. They said another strange twist in the Tupac case, the same officers that first arrived at the alleged sexual assault scene a year earlier were the first to arrive at his shooting. And so I called his New York trial lawyer, Michael Warren, and said, do you think that the FBI and police intelligence are targeting Tupac like they targeted his Black Panther parents? And he said, yes, and no one's writing about it.
Absolutely.
And so I have been getting some national political magazines that covered issues like this, and he interviewed Michael Warren for an hour or two and ended up publishing in a local magazine in the spring of '95 an article questioning whether there was a new COINTELPRO targeting Tupac Shakur. And COINTELPRO is the FBI's counterintelligence program that targets Black Panthers.
Right.
So finally in 1998, a national magazine started by a CIA whistleblower called Covert Action Quarterly, which had won a lot of what we call Project Censored awards. It said that they were going to publish this article in an expanded form, which I had done with about 50 endnotes. And so his family, or actually his business manager, his national lawyer, and others close to him opened up to me in a big way for both that article and what they asked that I turn into a book. So from about 1998 to 2007, when I put this book out in paperback form, I was off and on studying and researching his case and interviewed, did probably over 100 interviews. I got about 100 FBI documents, though I was told there was over 4,000 pages in Tupac's FBI file. I paid for those pages, and they sent me 99 pages only because they said for national security reasons. But I got a lot of CIA documents and literally thousands of court documents and different of his cases and his family's cases, and just read probably over 100 books and thousands of different articles from magazines and newspapers to support my the theme of this book, which is the FBI war on Tupac Shakur and Black leaders.
If Tupac was just a rapper, as they say, the way people seem to sell it is, rapper killed by.
It wasn't a coincidence that Puffy, Haitian Jack, and Jimmy Henchman was allowed to plot on Tupac like that. See, we thought it just was coincidence. That was no coincidence.
Rappers,
Three fell informed.
associates, or gang members.
Mm-hmm.
If he's just a gang member, why should that interfere with national security?
Right. It's of course a good question. And now the way the American media presents Tupac Shakur, they present him as just a gang member, not an activist, and just a rapper that was, into negative activities. What Tupac really was a lifelong committed left-wing activist. Starting from age 13 when a Reverend Herbert Daltrey asked him what he wanted to be when he grew up, and he said a revolutionary. By the age of 17 years old, he was elected as the youngest national chairman of a group called the New African Panthers.
Yeah.
They wanted to replicate the Black Panthers. They were the young adult organization inside the New African People's Organization, which was also active in 8 cities nationwide. So Tupac was a committed activist at 17, 18 years old when he was leading this group. He was a top newspaper salesman of this group. And of course, the New African People's Organization was founded by former Black Panthers and former members of the Republic of New Africa and other excellent Black activists. So this is all before he became a rapper.
Yeah.
Now, at some point, within the next year or two, maybe 3, his business manager told me, Watani.
June 16th, 1971, Papa gave birth to a hell-raising heavy son.
Kayahimba, former Los Angeles Black Panther, who was also National Security Director for the New African People's Organization, he confirmed to me that Tupac took on a fake gangster persona in order to appeal to gangs and then politicize them. And that was part of the Bloods versus Crips peace truce movement. Former Black Panthers and other Black activists had gotten the notorious gangs that were warring against each other, the Bloods and the Crips, to stop fighting each other and to fight racism, and to work on activist causes around the Los Angeles area. And the Bloods and Crips were active nationally.
See,
and
Mutulu also summons Tupac to prison and told Tupac he better put some meaning behind that stuff he was saying, thug life and nigga. That's when Tupac, you hear him say, well, thug life meant this and nigga meant that. Then he give you definitions. When he first started saying it, thug life meant thug life. Then he said the hate you give little infants fucks everybody. Then when Mutulu told him, you gonna say nigga, you put something behind it. Then Tupac said never ignorant getting goals accomplished. Mutulu was grooming him to do some revolutionary shit. And that's when they wasn't going to allow that, because they knew if Pac was going to be the billionaire he was on the projection to be, he was not going to lead the Panthers out.
And so slowly but surely, these gang peace truces started to spread throughout California and then across the country, to the point that in New York, the largest gang, the Latin Kings, were influenced to stop doing illegal activities and start working on activism. And they were influenced by the Young Lords, which was the Latino version of the Black Panthers in the United States.
And they've been around for a long time, the Young Lords, haven't they?
They have. They of course, they weren't as active as they were in the 60s, but there were still a lot of members who were doing good activist work. One of them that talked to me at length was Vincent Panama Alba, for example. But a number of them were doing great work and helping the Latin Kings transform into what they renamed themselves, which was the Almighty Latin King and Queen Nation.
Yeah.
So what Tupac was involved in was this, this kind of this activism in that way. He was also funding the New African People's Organization. The National Security Director of the New African People's Organization was his business manager, Watani Tayahimba, I talked about. His national lawyer was Chokwe Lumumba, who was head of the New African People's Organization. So he was consistently funding them. He was doing a number of different
F.B.I, that's money laundering. Putting money into the hands of what they looked at as criminals.
This things on the side while he was rapping and pretending to be this gangster rapper. Yeah. And as I said, he he loaded his lyrics with a lot of these gangster rap lyrics, but he also put in some political messages, such as, of course, the album Words of Wisdom, and some other political songs throughout his second album and some of his third album. And now, once he was in jail, though, they put him in solitary confinement for 10 out of the 11 months. Yeah. They used all forms of tactics that are called by Amnesty International penal coercion tactics to mess his head up, including his lawyer said that every time he went to visit Tupac in jail, they would stick their gloved fingers there.
Nah, I heard Tupac tell that story, and this is where they run off with the Tupac got raped in jail. All the funds I heard Wack 100 say he got a tape of shoot. Anytime they talking about anything happened to Tupac in jail sexually, Tupac said himself this was the worst thing he had to go through. And anybody who go to prison understand that. These people make you hate visits, bro. You go to see your family, you got to bend over, squat, cough. Every time you in prison, you go see your people, you're going to bend over, you're going to squat, and you're going to cough. To a real man, that is humiliating as hell.
Rubber glove fingers up his butt, pretending to look for contraband.
Yeah.
So they were basically torturing him in jail, messing his head up, and then when he got out of jail, he was with Death Row Records, who I argue and show evidence of that continued these tactics to mess his head up. And only when he was finally getting away from Death Row Records did he get back into some of his activist lyrics, and he had started his own record company, his own film company, and he fired the real head of Death Row Records, a guy named Dave Kenner, a white lawyer, and within 9 days of firing him, of course, he was killed.
Yeah.
And now I argue that Death Row Records was the U.S. intelligence front company.
Yeah.
And I say that based on the fact that a high-level white Los Angeles police officer found dozens and dozens of his fellow police officers at all levels of Death Row Records. And when he went to his superiors to ask what were they doing there, they said you can consider them covert agents. So there's
Should get known. See, that's David Kenner. David Kenner filled up Death Row with all of these people that he's talking about. Should know who the hell was around him.
That and much more evidence that
That's
Death Row Records is
with the guys from all Peru,
the U.S. intelligence front company, and one of their goals was to aid in the murder of Tupac Shakur.
Yeah.
And of course, they had some other goals also, which was partly to end the Bloods versus Crips peace truce.
But on a grander scale, isn't it somehow, if you look at hip hop today, what it's become, wouldn't you say from your conclusion that it might be also more than just Def Jam, more than just Death Row?
And
yeah, I do.
Snoop Dogg need to give Tupac credit for that goddamn football league he got out there. He took that idea from Tupac. Everybody know when Tupac was on the phone with Monster Cody, he said that he was going to start the youth football thing for the kids out of Los Angeles. Snoop, none of them niggas had no teams. They ran with Tupac's idea, and he was this is what he talking about, that peace treaty. He also said he was getting with all different gangsters and different sets, and they was gonna pick certain days where nobody was gonna be able to hustle on the block. Let the kids play, and they, And then he said he was getting with the rappers, and they was gonna be going from hood to hood doing free concerts, and all the rappers had to do it for free, but the money was gonna go back to the community. See, all this revolutionary shit. Pac was talking to a big-time gangster, Monster Cody, and Monster Cody was agreeing. The FBI was like, hell no. The gangsters agreeing with him. They saying he was a leader that could sway real killers to pursue peace.
It's a tool.
A revolution, though.
It's more than death row. It's actually a tool to suppress black people in general.
Well, yeah, I agree that the whole industry, in the 80s, for example, you had groups like Public Enemy that were putting out activist lyrics. You had Boogie Down Productions,
Tribe Called Quest, all these
Tribe Called Quest. Yeah, I mean, these are groups that I liked a lot in the 80s and early 90s, and I think the industry was taken over by the huge multinational corporations, particularly Time Warner, that Los Angeles.
Bullshit. The small hats concocted a plan And Jerry Heller put it into action. That small hat. And told Cube and Dr. Dre, you know what? First sound real good. Why don't y'all call yourselves niggers with attitudes? That sound edgy. Yeah, they let that man tell them their name should be niggers with attitudes. No, we can't say niggers. We're going to say niggas. Jerry Heller. And then y'all going to pretend like y'all real street gangsters.
The Los Angeles Times said bought the vast majority of the rap labels. Now, Time Warner is, of course, a media giant, and Time Warner's history is intimately connected with U.S. intelligence. Their vice president for years, many years, decades, is a guy named Charles Douglas Jackson. If you look at the excellent book by British magazine editor Frances Stoner Saunders called The Cultural Cold War, you'll see that she went through Charles Douglas Jackson's letters, and he went back and forth between being a CIA architect and had the name head of psychological warfare, U.S. government, and then being head of Time Incorporated, vice president of Time Incorporated. So he was going back and forth between those two positions, and I show much evidence and argue that he was running, and she found evidence of that he was running psychological warfare operations through Time Incorporated's magazines and their other media properties. And some of those operations, of course, were against black activists and black musicians, in particular, black entertainers. So I found evidence that this kept up until now. I found a U.S. intelligence memo was published in a book went through the documents of the Senate Church Committee about the particular targeting of political musicians by the FBI, by the U.S. intelligence forces. So there's a lot of evidence of this kind of targeting and the kind of attempt to take over the music industry, particularly the music industry, because of its influence over people's hearts and minds.
Especially because it's power over the youth.
Right, exactly.
That's what it is.
Yeah, and now there's still a struggle there. Now, granted, I agree with you. A huge amount of hip-hop has been taken over and co-opted by the multinational corporations who have a lot of, I think, negative intent in influencing the black community for the worse and all community, youth in general, for the worse, while you've got other individual rappers, though, that are still trying to do good things. Just off the top of my head, I'll say people like Immortal Technique, Dead Prez, the Crew are doing good things, but they don't get the kind of publicity that the more negative rappers, are getting. And, whoever you want to name were the top rappers of today. So that is the struggle.
One, two, three, and say it like it really is. Do it like it really is. Say it like it really is. Do it like it really is.
It's about certain things happening, and some things just don't look right. Some things just don't look right. How does that sit in the States? How do people view that in the States, that somebody like Tupac is shot dead on the streets
Yeah, well, the problem is that I think there's a difference, I first say, between our country and your country and the other European countries. A leading sociologist in our country was a professor of mine at Columbia University, and him and his wife, his name's Richard Clower, his wife's Frances Fox Piven. They wrote some excellent books. One was called Poor People's Movements, another Regulating the Poor. Mm-hmm. And they found that the difference historically was in the evolution of the U.S. versus European countries is that when the European countries evolved, when the industrialists rose up and became rich, we call them in France the nouveau riche. Yeah. They were in opposition to the royalty. Okay, so you had two extremely wealthy groups that were vying against each other for power, and in that vying for power, each of them tried to get the workers on their side to have more power than the other. In the U.S., there was no royalty. When the industrialists rose up and became very wealthy, no one opposed them. So they just completely opposed the workers and really just squashed any kind of workers' movement that ever tried to gain any kind of rights. And so that's part of the reason that us, the workers in the United States, got little power and little rights, and why we don't have any national health care to speak of compared to the European countries, and other things that you guys take for granted we don't really have. And so it also was part of the evolution of our media, in that the Rockefellers and the J.P. Morgans and all the multinational corporate leading families, they just bought up the media in the 19 teens, for example. They bought up a lot of the major newspapers. Then come 1947, they had so much power in government that they helped pass the National Security Act of 1947, which started the CIA, the Central Intelligence Agency, and they loaded, Francis Stoner Saunders talks about this. Victor Marchetti, the highest CIA whistleblower, discussed it at length in his book, CIA, the Cult of Intelligence. He says, and they said basically that the leading members, the highest up, the highest ranks of the CIA was filled with the top family members.
And Nazis.
And Nazis. Now those family members, besides supporting the Nazis before the war with their eugenics movement, which was, it passed laws in 30 states in the United States, according to 10-time nominated, Pulitzer Prize nominated reporter Edwin Black in his book War Against the Weak. They then saved thousands of Nazis. They used them in the United States. They spread them around the world, but particularly they sent a lot of them to South America to control, basically Latin America.
Argentina and these places.
Sure, exactly. So that was their philosophy. They're incredibly bigoted. They cared nothing about democracy. They only care about the illusion of democracy. So they put forth this pretense of we're spreading democracy, when really they're trying to, it's a shield for we're spreading hyper-capitalism and attempt to control as many countries as we possibly can. Militarily, obviously, we got military bases in more countries in the world than probably all of Europe has in other countries in the world. And they control the media, in the country in a huge way, but probably, internationally, with probably buying up as much as they can.
So they've done a very good job, haven't they, these people? They
have done a good job. And it takes independent journalists or independent investigators like ourselves to get any kind of real any word on some things out there. So most of our population probably still believes that Tupac was some gangster who got killed because of a gang rift, or because of this what I call manufactured East Coast versus West Coast rap rivalry. Now I say manufactured because the FBI documents that were stolen out of an FBI office in 1971 by left-wing activists, found thousands and thousands of pages supporting what the counterintelligence program was. That's the only way we found out about the counterintelligence program, was that theft. And once they got those documents out, it showed how the FBI manufactured this rivalry between the East Coast versus the West Coast Black Panthers. Okay, then I found that with this East Coast versus West Coast rap rivalry, supposedly between Biggie and Tupac, they used the same. I saw the same tactics. There was anonymous letters going back and forth. There was strangers making outrageous accusations that this Biggie Smalls from New York tried to kill Tupac from his original, it would come out of the Oakland area of California. And so Tupac started believing some of this stuff at first, and then by the end of his life, he didn't believe it anymore. He realized that in his last album, Machiavelli, had a song called "Against All Odds," where he says, "Let me, tell you about this snitch, FBI agent named Haitian Jack, knew he was working for the Feds, of course, Federal Bureau of Investigation, FBI, set me up and wet me up." And the set him up was for the sexual assault scene, and that wet me up was where shot him at New York recording studio lobby, because it was an associate of Jacques Agnance, Haitian Jacques Agnance, that lured Tupac to that New York recording studio lobby where he was shot, and he was shot twice in the back of the skull. I have a doctor's affidavit copied in my book showing that there was 2 bullet hole entry wounds in the back of the skull and 2 exit wounds in the front of the skull.
Yeah.
And he just those bullets barely missed his brain. That was a clear murder attempt.
This is. Well, I have another question. I have another question before we go too fast ahead, because the thing is, I mean, these tactics, this letter sending and all these things, as you know, were used during the period of the Black Panthers. That's how they destroyed the Black Panthers.
Of course.
Exactly with those things. Now, why is it that nobody around Tupac, if he was involved with these Panthers, why didn't anybody see that? I don't understand that.
They did see it, but there wasn't much they could do about it. That's the problem. They suspected that, for example, Haitian Jacques Ignat was bad news, and they told Tupac, we're not sure about him. We don't know his origins. We don't know what he's really about. But Tupac was having all kinds of problems at that time, financially, legally. Obviously, they kept arresting him and I think that was part of their same strategy they used against the Panthers, what's called the harassment arrest strategy that was found in F.B.I. documents. And so he thought that this Haitian music promoter, Jacques Ignat, who at that time called himself Nigel and Ricardo, all kinds of aliases, he thought that he was just a legitimate music promoter. And what it turns out is that, of course, that it was eventually found out that he had a miles-long rap sheet of charges up and down the East Coast, according to Tupac's New York trial lawyer, Michael Warren, who got that rap sheet. And all the charges were dismissed. And Michael Warren said that's a sure sign of a police intelligence agent. It took, people just didn't know who was doing what and how at these different times in Tupac's life until they set up that East Coast versus West Coast rap rivalry. And then people around Tupac started telling him, don't believe this. This probably isn't true. We don't think that Biggie really set you up. But so many people, so many people were telling him, don't you know Biggie set you up? He was getting letters. They just didn't realize how much U.S. intelligence, how many resources they would put into targeting Tupac.
Yes, but John, let's be realistic, John. At the same time, I just wanted to put a couple of these points. I mean, if he comes from a Panther family, right? He's surrounded by Panthers. He's financing them, and nobody could tell him. He's giving quite a bit of money, because otherwise, those people wouldn't have been. If they've done this, they wouldn't have been doing it. If he'd given them $1 a month, they would have said, "Well, who cares?" But if he's giving
the people that were supporting him would have given him support for no money. Yeah. No, his mentors were solid activists. Yeah. They weren't giving him, mentoring him just for the money. They were mentoring him before he ever made any money. Right. He was dirt poor and homeless, and they put him up when they could, a number of times. They were all being attacked, right? At this time. So they were still helping him out. When he made a lot of money, he was giving back to them. Yeah. And now, while he was giving back to them, part of the problem is that there was just so many different ways he was being attacked. Now, his business manager, Watani Tayahimba, told me that he first felt solidly sure that there was an attack on Tupac after the Marin Fest shooting, when strangers punched Tupac for no reason and then shot at him, and then chased him under a car, under like a police vehicle. First they smashed up his car, and then police arrested Tupac instead of the people that were attacking him. But anyway, so Watani says he understood that there must be, FBI intelligence, police intelligence attack on Tupac from that point on. Yeah. The problem is there was not much they could do about it. That was one of the major problems. And none of them were sure how far it was going and how serious, how much it really was U.S. intelligence or how much it was other issues. You just didn't know what to make of what, because Tupac was stuck in jail. He couldn't get out of jail. And the only way he could figure out how to get out of jail was signing.
I didn't understand, which was too late. He was caught up in it, was street cats acting like gangsters, but they informants. They can do criminalistic stuff, but they informants. They working for the government. Right now it's called gang stalker. They was gang stalking Pop Bad Boy, Jimmy Henchman, Haitian Jack, all these people befriending the Southside Crips to further it in California with the backing of the police.
To Death Row Records,
Yeah.
who he knew by doing that, Watani Tayimba said he couldn't associate with Tupac anymore because he didn't know exactly what Death Row was, but he knew that Death Row could bring his whole New African People's Organization down because there was something suspicious about Death Row Records. So Tupac said, I know cried on Watani's shoulder and said, I know I'm selling my soul to the devil. I just have to get out of here because what they were doing to him in jail. And so he thought, okay, he'd fake allegiance to this Death Row Records for a while until he satisfied his contract of 3 CDs, and then he said he's going to be gone. And after producing 3 CDs, he told Suge Knight, I'm done. He started his own record label, Euthanasia Records. He fired Dave Kenner, and then 9 days later, he was killed.
Yeah, but this, again, John, if he's in this situation, you've got people on your back who are the most powerful institutions. You know, you can't get those guys in jail. It's hard to get them in jail for anything. Isn't it kind of clear that there's nowhere really to run to?
Yeah, it did seem like there was where to run to. He just thought that maybe there's a way he can get out of Death Row Records and do his own thing in a smaller way, with his own independent music label, and his own independent film production company. And that's what he was hoping to do, but obviously he couldn't.
But wouldn't he have to give up all of that, the politics? He'd have to give that up. If that seems like that was the thing that was, if those people were after him, that's what they were after. They were after that ending. They
were, and that's why he did give up his politics on that one Death Row album. But then the next Death Row album that was coming out, that he said was his final CD to satisfy his contract, he did put in some politics. Obviously, he put Malcolm X, excerpt on that Machiavelli album, and some other politics in that song "White Man's World." And then, of course, he said what he said in Against All Odds about the, Jacques Ignat, Haitian Jack working for the feds, set me up, wet me up, and all that. So he was trying to play that, a balancing act of just a little bit of politics and a lot of other non-political stuff, and obviously didn't work.
When you look at your research on this whole topic, what conclusions do you have? I mean, you've got a person who comes out of a Panther family, wants to do politics, can't do politics because there are people maybe don't want that. What conclusions do you come to with this whole story about, not just about Tupac, but what does that reflect on the whole situation over there?
Well, it's a scary situation for sure. But people like Tupac, people like his godfather, Geronimo Pratt, who was head of the Los Angeles Black Panthers, his stepfather, Mutulu Shakur, who was an acupuncturist, he was the associate director of a drug treatment center in the Bronx that actually got trained in acupuncture detox in.
He's in jail still, isn't he?
Sorry about what's that?
He's in jail still.
He is still in jail. These people are incredibly inspiring to me. The fact that they give up so much in order not to renounce their politics and to keep up their activism, they're just very inspiring to me. And I see what's happening in our country and what's happening around the world, and I just want to try to change things for the better like them. And I'll never live the kind of life they lived. I'll never be a 24/7 activist like they were. They are, I should say, and like a number of other people I meet are, but I can put in a good amount of time to try to change things for the better like they did, and hopefully make a dent,
But when
had to drop that bucket.
I mean, like Kennedy was killed with an explosive bullet. I mean, these are things that people don't even know about. Why is, how can you defend yourself against a system like that?
Well, I guess just try to do things in a small way and hope that all of our small ways of doing something adds up to changing things for the better. And I guess, everyone in U.S. intelligence is human. As much as a lot of them are acting like monsters, they are human. Hopefully they'll start to change their mind for the better, and they won't be so inhuman about the way, they've been treating a lot of these activists.
But my conclusion is much worse. I think that the next person that comes in after Barack Obama is going to be probably a Hitler. That's my conclusion. I think we've seen George Bush. George Bush was not he was not a bad guy, but you can see with with somebody of that caliber, you've seen what you can do, and it's an incredible amount of damage.
I know. I agree. I mean, the Bush family, though, is intimately connected with the Rockefellers and the Morgans, the Vanderbilts, and all them, and
CIA.
Yeah, and CIA. Yeah, I mean, Bush Sr. was the CIA director. You don't just accidentally get into that position. I read. So
Skull and Bones and all these other, people see them as nice little clubs, but I mean, people should be kind of suspicious if your government is constantly run by the same kind of people.
Yeah, well, my brother actually went to Yale, and he had a friend that ended up being in Skull and Bones. And that guy and others I heard from my brother tried to change it in terms of stopping it from being sexist, allowing women in, stopping it from being so, so secretive in other ways, is my understanding. But I really don't know. Maybe that Skull and Bones did change that guy for the worse, for all I know. So, yeah, I mean, so many, granted, so many, I've heard some horrible things about these people that have come out, Skull and Bones have done.
Yeah.
So I just don't, I don't know what's happening in these secret societies, but, obviously there are some bad things coming out of them, but all I can hope is that some of my work helps change as many people as possible's views, others.
What are your views about the things that you see on the internet? There's so much information out there, strange information from simple hassling people of a particular color right up till reptiles.
Oh yeah. Well, to me, that's, I know, I think that's, from what I hear is that the intelligence agencies, they'll get someone who, is called this leading researcher on these left-wing topics. And then that same leading researcher will throw out these reptile ideas, like David Icke and people of his ilk, that the reptile people control the world. And I think they're just using that to discredit, serious research, and rational ideas to try to, make, all serious researchers into, crazed, delusional people.
But what do we do if tomorrow we wake up and they really are reptiles?
Yeah, I don't expect that. So.
You know what? I keep a real open mind about everything. I really don't know, because I think after
I'll keep an open mind too, but
I
keep an open mind. I just haven't seen proof.
No, I haven't either. I've never seen flying ships and all that stuff. Right. But the thing is that I think after the George Bush era, after seeing so many people marching against the war, but then they're still going for the war. I've got, I'm like, well, they could be anything, those people. Because to do that, you have to be anything. You don't have to be human.
Well, they're incredibly insensitive, that's for sure. And they're murderous. Yeah, they're murderously insensitive, genocidally insensitive. And it's sad. It's very sad that so many in our country are just caught up in that media kind of, I got to call it brainwashing, that media influence, to think that we should all be waving our flags over these wars that are killing over 1 million Iraqis. I went with what I thought were the names and the agencies and all that. So I can't speak to that, but I can believe that stuff's out there. I just don't know, as much about that, the secret societies. But again,
that's more Griff's area, isn't it?
What's that?
It's more Professor Griff's area.
Yeah, it is his area more. And I think Professor Griff is doing some good activism, so I respect him. I don't know about everything he's talking about with Illuminati, but I respect his work and he respects mine. I really thank him for promoting my book in his tours, and in our recent interview, I quote him a few times in my book, and his group, did excellent work. So, and I think what I love about Professor Griff is he's constantly evolving. He's always taking in new information and trying to figure out how it fits with old information. So, but so I just don't know that much about the Illuminati and Freemasonry, but I think my work has enough of names of U.S. intelligence, names of the wealthiest of society that were involved with U.S. intelligence to do what they did, that it speaks for itself, that way.
Anyway, I think the names, whether they're Freemasons or Illuminati, I don't think that makes much difference.
Right.
It's still people.
Right. Some people that are doing some horrible things.
Right. Problem because they, like you say, they live double lives, some of them treble lives.
Sure.
The higher up you go in the power, I mean, they have companies, you don't know how many companies they have. I mean, the Bush family, the father is part of the Carlyle group, he's got these deals, he's got that, you can't find these people anymore because they're all over the place. Because they're everywhere, they're nowhere, you could say.
Yeah, and they're so intimately connected. The dean of the University of California, Berkeley School of Journalism, Ben Bagdikian, said in his book, The Media Monopoly, that he found that the top multinational corporations share boards of directors, and they share them with all the top media companies. Like Time Warner, for example, part of their boards of directors also sit on the top defense contractors, the top oil companies, the top banks, the top insurance companies, top pharmaceutical companies, and by corporate law, they're not supposed to make decisions that go against the profit margin of the other companies that they sit on. So by corporate law, they're supposed to suppress information such as maybe Tupac songs that say they got money for war but can't feed the poor, for example.
Yeah.
And so that's it. It just by corporate law, this agenda makes sense that the media would suppress someone who would hurt the agendas, the profit agendas of these top multinational corporations, besides just their bigotry.
Yeah, but wouldn't you say that because, I mean, also the States is built on, I mean, I'm sure Professor Griff will tell you something like this, but because the States is built on slavery and the whole destruction of the natives, it's very hard to kind of get over some really new ground, isn't it?
It is. I mean, I think us white Americans are gonna have to work our entire, me and everyone else, I think, and I tell people this, have to work our entire lives on fighting the racism that's like built into our media that brainwashes us, I believe.
Yeah.
And even African Americans have to work on internalized racism. Because that's what's done to us with the media. There's all kinds of, I believe, all kinds of hidden agendas of racist, ideas that are planted in our subconscious.
Conquer, really, that's been the major point, because that's where the major profit has come from. By keeping people divided, they've been able to make so much money.
Right.
And you have these people who say, yeah, I'm a patriot, but they're broke.
Right. I agree. Yeah, divide and conquer is an old strategy, but it's constantly used. And so I think part of the strategy, when you look at the elites, a lot of researchers find they're predominantly white Anglo-Saxon Protestant. And that's why, a Catholic like the Kennedys, besides his political agenda, but even his being Catholic was a problem, for these white Anglo-Saxon Protestants. And not to discredit all white Anglo-Saxon Protestants, of course, but I'm talking about the super bigoted ones that with the most money that control our country. But they're so good at playing ethnic groups against each other, whether it be the blacks against the Jews, the Italians, and the Irish against the blacks, or whatever it might be. And I think when you look at some, the histories of all these ethnic groups, there was a huge suppression of the leftist tendencies and the integration, of these activist groups and by getting them to fight each other, you know, it causes them not to look at the top.
It's interesting
fight
because also
who's at the
it's
top.
also interesting because in Europe I mean in the States they've got so good at it that we have copied it. Because they've got so wealthy, it seems to be shifting more to class now. The underclasses are really getting, you know, like with the housing problems and all this, they're getting finished off.
I agree. And they're even developing groups there's a group called InfraGard that the editor of Progressive Magazine wrote an article about. InfraGard's a group that's supposedly about 25,000 strong that is all the managers of the top corporations in our country. They're kind of deputized, and I talk about that at the end of my book and the end of my film. They were deputized by the FBI that if we call a state of emergency in our country, if the government calls a state of emergency, that they can shoot to kill and get off in court. And that's how they're deputized, and it's just incredible. It's just disgusting, and that is a class kind of deputizing of the upper class to shoot to kill anyone else.
Knock, knock, we still here doing our thing. Yeah, doing the right thing. We ain't just said just about anything, just to get those out there material things. I ain't saying we ain't bought anything. Stuck with the rap, never tried to sing. Bring a noise, raise the roof, they afraid of the youth. Look out, duck down, can't handle the truth. Now the club ain't no church and the church ain't no club. Check the DJs mixing up murder and love. Whose shoulders the burden of all that murdering? The people, love spelled backwards is evil. Misspelled, what the hell? The people get paid. Dumb from another marketing campaign. It's my birthday, and we still killing the stage. I don't give a damn about popping champagne.
I was surprised to find the evidence of about the assassination of Robert F. Kennedy by U.S. intelligence, but also Jimi Hendrix and Bob Marley. I had no idea that Jimi Hendrix had gotten so political at the end of his life. And I just got new research that I'm putting into the new printing of the book now that came out that Jimi Hendrix's, one of his roadies had put a memoir out saying that his manager, Mike Jeffrey, admitted to having Jimi Hendrix killed in England. And Mike Jeffrey was supposedly a former MI6 agent versus continuing to be an MI6 agent. I argue, of course, that he continued to be an MI6 agent and worked with, that British and American intelligence.
MI5.
Maybe MI5, okay. But I think he said MI6 in one memoir. But either way, that they collaborated to, kill Jimi Hendrix.
Yeah.
But other than that, it's just incredible how entrenched. I mean, the media control was incredible to me. It was incredible to read about, and Asaj Shakur and how beautiful, incredible of a person she was, and how she just made it through what she made it through to still come across with such beautiful words, such beautiful ideas from Cuba. So despite going through what she went through, just to still communicate in such a warm way, where if I were her, I would have been so bitter about what was done. So to keep her warmth in her communication is amazing, because they tortured her in jail, for years, and things they did to her were terrible. And yet, from Cuba, she publishes this memoir, Asada, that is just a beautiful, work.
Are they still trying to arrest her for some reasons? From what I heard,
New Jersey Republicans were still, they put a number of years ago, within the last 5 or 10 years, they've had $1 million bounty on her head. It's like the wild, wild west here,
Osama bin Laden can't be found, but we get Asana instead.
Right. We'll get Asaj Shakur. We're not worried about Osama. We're worried about Asad. Yeah.
Crazy, isn't it?
It is.
Something wrong there?
Oh yeah.
I think he's drinking a pina colada right now in Bush's back garden.
Yeah. If he was still alive, probably would be. Yeah. But I don't think he's still alive, as from what I hear.
You don't think he's still alive?
Nah, now I think the head of Pakistan at one point said that our intelligence, based on U.S. intelligence, concluded that he was actually dead.
Yeah, the
I
moment
agree.
Bush said, we're looking for Osama bin Laden, he said, you better ease that down. And he did.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
He did. At the end, he said, we're not even looking for him almost. Didn't
Yeah.
he? He said,
I mean,
forget, he's not important, he said.
Right. I mean, I published about U.S. intelligence's targeting of Tupac Shakur and black leaders, but obviously 911 is the whole 911 commission report is considered a joke by by professors who've studied it carefully. You got a vast building that falls in 7 seconds.
Yeah.
That wasn't even hit by a plane in WT7.
Well, that was bought by a gentleman who was then able to rebuild, I suppose. I mean, he got the money back from the insurance company, didn't he?
Oh yeah,
So
yeah.
Why not knock it down?
Of course. I mean,
And
there's
he got it
certain.
cheap.
Yeah,
And he
you
got
got
it
over
really cheap.
1,200 architects and engineers now that have signed to the fact that the 911 commission report doesn't make sense for how these buildings came down.
Yeah.
So,
But you could see it when you saw it the first time. When I saw that on television. When the second building came down, because at first they say it wasn't on television, but I saw when this. I mean, it was obvious that building was not a building anymore, because
Right.
it came down like paper.
Exactly. It was disintegrated.
Yeah,
in 10 seconds, practically free fall.
Right. Right.
Yeah. So and I try to explain that to friends, and they have a hard time believing. They believe what they see on the History Channel, and all these ridiculous explanations that concrete can turn to dust for no reason, that steel can turn to butter, for no reason. That the laws of physics don't really apply when it comes to a situation like this. That if there was just nothing stopping a bowling ball from dropping from that level, it would have fallen at about the same speed.
Don't you think also? I mean, including this Tupac story, the story about Tupac's death. I mean, 9/11, Tupac, Biggie Smalls, all this kind of violence. It's kind of conditioning people for something, isn't it?
It seems that way. Yeah, it seems like it's a subconscious agenda to just control us with fear, and all we can do is still struggle despite the fear of whatever they're going to do to us for what we're doing. Now, when me and a professor try to communicate, for example, and our emails don't work with each other, it's scary. When people open up my packages I send to them, sometimes it's scary. It's just hard. I work a full-time job and a part-time job, so it's hard to have the time to promote as much as I'd like.
That's really difficult, isn't it?
Yeah.
Very difficult. It's necessary to have two jobs to really be able to survive in the States now, then, isn't it?
For a lot of people.
The FBI War on Tupac Shakur and Black Leaders by John Podash.
All right, at 6 p.m. in New York City at 99.5 FM, WBAI and WBAI.org.
A new book, The FBI War on Tupac Shakur and Black Leaders, took its author John Potash hundreds of interviews and 12 years to complete. Potash argues the FBI and police intelligence used similar tactics and personnel to target Tupac as they had his Black Panther parents.
And finally tonight, did a special unit of the FBI orchestrate the murder of rap artist Tupac Shakur? Does new evidence support how U.S. intelligence targeted Martin Luther King Jr., Malcolm X, the Black Panthers, Jimi Hendrix, Bob Marley, rappers, and linked ethnic leftists? Potash will be at 2 book signings this weekend following a sellout in Harlem 2 months ago. WBAI's Evening News asked him what he hopes people will learn from his book.
We're going to be offering a book and DVD. The book is The F.B.I. War on Tupac Shakur and Black Leaders by John Potash. And the DVD of the same name is going to be offered. The book can be yours for a pledge of $80.
You're listening to WPFW, Washington, D.C., 89.3 FM on your dial.
The subtitle of this book is U.S. Intelligence's Murderous Targeting of Tupac, MLK, Malcolm, Panthers, Hendrix, Marley, rappers, and linked ethnic leftists. The book includes over 1,000 endnotes referencing over 100 personal interviews the author conducted, hundreds of pages of court documents, and hundreds of pages of FBI and CIA documents. The author obtained many of these through a Freedom of Information Act request. For the sake of legitimacy, it should be said that activist leader Fred Hampton Jr. gave an afterword for the book. Pam Africa, head of the International Friends and Family of Mumia Abu-Jamal campaign, wrote a foreword for the book to which former journalist turned top political prisoner Mumia Abu-Jamal contributed. Regarding the Freedom of Information Act, this author paid for what was incidentally said to be over 4,000 pages in Tupac Shakur's FBI file. Here's the Department of Justice letter verifying that payment for these pages. The Department of Justice alleged reasons of national security for only sending 99 pages. Nonetheless, the other collected research and thousands of pages of mostly mainstream newspaper and magazine articles, as well as close to 100 research books and videos, substantiate the theme of this book. The collected research shows that a review of U.S. intelligence's targeting of the Shakur family offers a window into the targeting of key leftist Black and ethnic leaders for over 4 decades. Similar tactics and personnel that were used against both conventional leftist leaders, such as Martin Luther King Jr. and Robert F. Kennedy, were used against more grassroots leaders, such as Malcolm X, Huey Newton, and other Panther leaders. Similar tactics and personnel were also used against leftist musicians, ranging from Harry Belafonte and Jimi Hendrix to Bob Marley and political rap artists. Tupac Shakur's leftist legacy started with his mother, Afeni Shakur, a one-time Black Panther leader of the Harlem, New York chapter. She had married Harlem Black Panther chapter founder Lumumba Shakur. Lumumba's father, Sayuddin Abba Shakur, had been a close associate of Malcolm X. Lumumba, his brother Zaid, and their adopted brother Matulu had joined Malcolm X's Organization of Afro-American Unity shortly before Malcolm X's assassination. Malcolm X had formed this group as an American connection to an organization formed by independent African leaders, the Organization of African Unity. Malcolm X was the only American that these African leaders allowed to attend their meetings. Malcolm X warned these African leaders about the racism of America's top corporation owners and their likely desire to take advantage of the leaders to gain cheap access to their minerals, oil, and other resources. This led the African leaders to reconsider $100 million deals with these exploitative companies, which was a leading motive to the company owners possibly ordering Malcolm X's assassination. Huey Newton and Bobby Seale had organized with groups working with the Revolutionary Action Movement, or RAM, in 1966. RAM had started a Black Panther Party in Philadelphia, New York, and then Los Angeles. Maxwell Stanford, seen here, and Herman Ferguson started RAM. They used the Panther symbol that Stokely Carmichael had used for his Lowndes County, Mississippi Freedom Party. Carmichael and H. Rap Brown headed the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, or SNCC, which acted as the student arm of Martin Luther King's group. By October of 1966, Huey Newton and Bobby Seale decided to start their own new group, the Black Panther Party for Self-Defense, in Oakland, California. They wanted to differentiate themselves from RAM's Black Panther Party by using more militant means of defending themselves and other blacks against rampant police brutality. They brought guns and law books to scenes of police beating on blacks. They read the rights of the victims and legally pointed guns at the officers to make them stop. Governor Ronald Reagan ended up changing the law because of them. They also developed a 10-point plan that involved free health care for all, free and Black-centered education for all, amongst other ideas to fix society's ills. They further enacted these plans by attaining contributions from neighborhood businesses to fund the free breakfast programs and health centers they started. Their fame, membership, and programs quickly spread across the country. The next biggest chapter soon arose in Los Angeles, headed by John Huggins and apprentice Bunchy Carter. New York Times bestselling author Eldridge Cleaver had joined the Oakland Black Panther national leadership as their Minister of Information. His soon-to-be wife, Kathleen Cleaver, gained the position of National Secretary of Communications, a national spokesperson for the group at many events. Huey Newton and Bobby Seale signed Stokely Carmichael and H. Rap Brown as honorary East Coast Black Panther leaders. In New York City, Abba Shakur joined the Revolutionary Action Movement's New York Black Panthers. In 1968, the Oakland-based Black Panther Party for Self-Defense assigned Lumumba Shakur to head the Harlem Black Panthers. Within months, Tupac Shakur's mother, Afeni Shakur, joined the Harlem chapter and then married Lumumba Shakur. The National Panther leadership had assigned Lumumba's childhood friend, Sekou Odinga, who had also joined Malcolm X's group before he died, to head the Bronx Black Panther chapter. They named Lumumba's brother, Zaid Shakur, as the Bronx Black Panthers' Minister of Information. Tupac's uncle Thomas McCreary helped lead the Brooklyn Panthers. U.S. intelligence attacks on the Black Panther Party for Self-Defense started in 1967. Police had a list of Black Panther member license plates when they pulled Huey Newton over and got into a shootout with him. Bullets killed one officer and wounded Newton. Courts eventually acquitted Newton of this charge, but not before several years in jail and worldwide protests over his imprisonment. In 1968, a gunman assassinated civil rights leader Martin Luther King Jr. Dr. King's friend, a journalist named William Pepper, later became an attorney teaching at Oxford University and spent over 20 years investigating MLK's assassination. Here he is seen with Dr. King's family, where he represented them at an historic 1999 trial they won against a government co-conspirator involved in King's assassination. William Pepper wrote a first book on the investigation, Orders to Kill, and a second book on the trial, Act of State. Pepper said that U.S. intelligence, meaning the CIA, the FBI, military intelligence, etc., orchestrated Martin Luther King's assassination with the help of local mafia. Pepper said they did this partly due to King's mobilization of poor and working class people to struggle for better wages and to oppose the Vietnam War. Some of Pepper's evidence included a copy of orders a Special Forces Group sniper or Green Beret gave him, seen here. This backup sniper, ready to finalize the assassination if the first shooter missed, separately confirmed another backup sniper's account. Another piece of evidence is this photo of a reported CIA agent jumping down from where the bullets came several minutes after the assassination. Here's an FBI counterintelligence program called COINTELPRO document detailing U.S. intelligence's concern that another radical black leader could rise up in the way Malcolm X had. The document talks of preventing the rise of a messiah who could unify and electrify the militant black nationalist movement. The document said that Martin Luther King Jr. was the leading candidate for this role. While most people seem to understand that MLK was not a militant black nationalist, but a leader who fought racist institutions, MLK evolved to struggle for economic and social justice. Malcolm X had also evolved to become more inclusive of all races in his movement for social and economic justice. In the days following MLK's assassination, people rioted, setting fire to buildings in over 100 cities nationwide. In Oakland, the highest per capita black city of that time, people didn't set the town ablaze because Black Panthers, including Eldridge Cleaver and Kathleen Cleaver, had asked them not to. They said police would use rioting as an excuse to kill the Black Panthers. Police had ransacked Eldridge and Kathleen Cleaver's home previously and then went after Eldridge 4 days after MLK's assassination. Police used a different excuse to go after Eldridge Cleaver, saying they were looking for a random gunman in the area and he was a suspect. Cleaver eluded them by hiding in the basement of his neighbor's house. Police unloaded a fusillade of bullets into that house. Cleaver saved himself by coming out of the house completely naked, knowing police couldn't shoot him and say he was armed. 18-year-old Bobby Hutton was too shy to follow Cleaver's advice. He came out shirtless with his arms raised, and police fatally shot him. FBI documents obtained years later and shown here described how they instructed police intelligence to use a harassment arrest strategy to drain the Revolutionary Action Movement's members' time and money. Other documents showed how they used this in their attempt to neutralize the Black Panther Party for self-defense. Evidence further suggested the future use of this strategy against Tupac Shakur and other political rappers. Police intelligence, who had officers that were also FBI agents, proceeded to arrest Panther leaders throughout the country on what appeared as frame-ups. Undercover agents also infiltrated the Black Panthers to set up murders of Panther leaders. These included Los Angeles Panther leaders Bunchy Carter and John Huggins. Huggins and Carter had left a tape-recorded message that if they died, Geronimo Pratt should take their place as the LA Panther leader. In Chicago, the FBI and police intelligence waged a particularly gruesome attack on Panther leader Fred Hampton. Hampton had great success in uniting the Panthers in a rainbow coalition with the White Students for a Democratic Society and the Latino Young Lords activist groups. Hampton further helped politicize the largest gangs in Chicago, including the Blackstone Rangers. An undercover police agent, William O'Neill, sabotaged the Blackstone Rangers' merge with the Panthers by firing at the gang and passing fake letters to the Rangers. U.S. intelligence would similarly target Tupac Shakur for his work at politicizing gangs. By the end of 1969, police led a murderous raid on Fred Hampton's apartment. Evidence suggests undercover agent O'Neill drugged Hampton, and police killed the Panther leader in his sleep. Police also killed Southern Illinois Panther leader Mark Clark in that raid. Here, some of these Chicago police officers are seen smiling while carrying Hampton's body. Since these assassinations, several federal officials confirmed that the FBI orchestrated them through police intelligence units. For example, a Los Angeles FBI counterintelligence program agent named M. Wesley Swearingen published this memoir, FBI Secrets, in the mid-1990s. It confirmed the FBI's orchestration of LA Panther leaders Bunchy Carter and John Huggins' murders. He further confirmed the frame-up of LA Panther leader Geronimo Pratt. Swearingen also quoted the Chicago FBI COINTELPRO head as stating their setup of Hampton and Clark's assassinations. FBI agent Swearingen stated in interviews that the FBI's counterintelligence program continued for decades under different names. CIA whistleblowers such as Phil Agee and John Stockwell also confirmed the CIA's consistent aid of these programs into the present. In 1969, U.S. intelligence also had first shot at Bronx Black Panther leader Sekou Odinga and then arrested 21 of the top New York Panthers, including Harlem Panther leader Lumumba Shakur and his wife Afeni Shakur. The Panther 21 decided that collected bail money should first free Afeni Shakur to be the Panthers' Harlem leader and New York spokesperson. Afeni became pregnant with Tupac during that time, just before her bail was revoked. The Panther 21 trial was one of the most highly publicized trials of the decade. Several books were published about what turned into a tragic comic event, including a National Book Award winner. While very pregnant, Afeni Shakur represented herself in court. New York University professor Peter Zimroth, a former prosecutor, observed the whole trial and wrote about the incredible bias the judge showed in favor of the prosecution, including daily meetings the judge had with the prosecutor to coach him on gaining a conviction. In another display of bias, the judge consistently said, "Request denied," to any objections Afeni raised, as she legally represented herself in court. At one point, Afeni stood up and asked, "May we ask the district attorney to cooperate in having a just trial?" "Request denied," the judge snapped, leading the pro-Panther crowd filling the courtroom seats to both laughter and jeers. Professor Zimroth quoted jurors who said that Afeni's defense gained all of the Panther 21's acquittals. As the lead juror said, "Not guilty for so many counts against the Panther 21, Afeni sobbed in her hands, and many in the court cried with her." Another important aspect of the Panther 21 trial came out when defense attorney Gerald Lefcourt cross-examined the state's witness, undercover agent Eugene Roberts, who had infiltrated the New York Black Panthers and helped frame the Panther 21. Lefcourt said, "Isn't it a fact that you helped murder Malcolm X?" Roberts had previously infiltrated Malcolm X's group and was the first person to arrive at his bullet-ridden body. Malcolm's wife, Betty Shabazz, a nurse, first covered her kids when the shooting started. Then, Joan Roberts grabbed Betty Shabazz, but Shabazz threw her into a wall and ran to her husband, where Gene Roberts said he was dead. William Pepper said that similar to the role of Roberts, undercover military agent infiltrator Merrill McCullough was the first to arrive at Martin Luther King's body at his assassination, as seen here. Pepper said McCullough checked out Martin Luther King's life signs. He then apparently signaled the shooters to disengage as the assassination was successful. Shortly after, McCullough received a promotion to the CIA. Afeni Shakur gave birth to Tupac Amaru Shakur within 2 months of the trial's end in June of 1971. She named him after the last Incan leader to die trying to fight off the Spanish invaders. She eventually moved in with Lumumba Shakur's adopted brother, Mutulu Shakur. Here Mutulu is seen with Tupac right from the book Tupac Resurrection. Mutulu was a co-founding member of the Republic of New Africa, the RNA. The RNA started from a convention of black activists nationwide who met in the Detroit church where the Queen of Soul, Aretha Franklin, had grown up, as her father was the minister there. Afeni continued working on activist projects, such as a landmark lawsuit against the New York Police Department. Afeni and other activists, such as Abby Hoffman and lead lawyer Barbara Handschuh, partly based their lawsuit on FBI documents that activists obtained by burglarizing an FBI office in Media, Pennsylvania. The documents revealed the FBI's counterintelligence program, or COINTELPRO. The FBI had illegally spied on, infiltrated, sabotaged, and orchestrated murders of people involved in legal protest activities. The FBI used particularly brutal COINTELPRO tactics against black activists such as the Black Panthers. Reports state that the FBI continued to follow Afeni Shakur from job to job and pressured employers to fire her or not to hire her. Mutulu had attained a 4-year degree in acupuncture in Canada. He used it as assistant director of Lincoln Detox, a pioneering program with great success at treating addicts in the South Bronx through acupuncture. Many activists from various groups worked with Mutulu. These included white former Students for a Democratic Society activists, including those linked to the Weather Underground, Puerto Rican independence activists, and former Black Panthers. As Mutulu remained active in the Republic of New Africa, he and Afeni took young Tupac to many activist meetings during those years. Other Shakurs experienced trials and tribulations in the 1970s. Lumumba and Mutulu's brother, Zaid Shakur, had been a tireless Black Panther organizer, while Lumumba and Afeni awaited trial. Zaid worked particularly hard at countering the FBI's COINTELPRO tactics used to divide Black Panther co-founder Huey Newton, based in California, from other Panther leaders, including Eldridge Cleaver, who started a Panther chapter in Algeria. As seen in these FBI strategy documents, further fake letters and undercover agents were used to couple Afeni's New York Panthers with Cleaver in this Newton-Cleaver split. Panther National Secretary Kathleen Cleaver said that some media dubbed this split the East Coast versus West Coast Black Panther War. With similar tactics found, the similar name as the East versus West Rap War appeared more than a coincidence. Amidst that conflict, undercover agent infiltrators reportedly convinced Newton to expel LA Panther leader Pratt, Tupac's godfather. Pratt is seen here with his wife Linda, Afeni, Tupac, and Tupac's sister Sechewa. They reportedly brought a false background poster into Pratt's prison for this picture. LA FBI COINTELPRO leader Richard Held had orchestrated a police raid of the LA Panther office in 1969. Police snipers shot up Pratt's bed in that raid, but Pratt saved himself by sleeping on the floor due to a bad back acquired as a Vietnam veteran. Richard Held then framed Pratt for murder in 1970. Through the 70s, Mutulu Shakur's Lincoln Detox reportedly had great success at battling addiction. Before the end of the decade, the mayor's office forced Lincoln Detox to close, possibly due to its political education component. By around 1980, some activists resorted to robbing banks to raise money for healthcare needs in the South Bronx. In 1981, an armored truck robbery resulted in the death of a police officer. The FBI blamed Mutulu Shakur and other former Lincoln Detox employees, leading many to go into hiding that year. Mutulu tried to show his face to his stepson, Tupac, every now and then for encouragement. The FBI visited Tupac in school, asking him if he had seen Mutulu. Police also accused Mutulu of helping break Tupac's Aunt Assata Shakur from jail. Assata had joined Mutulu's brother Zaid Shakur in the clandestine Black Liberation Army. Police pulled their car over in New Jersey, and a shootout ensued. A police officer and Zaid Shakur were killed. Assata now lives in political exile in Cuba. Mutulu had apparently hid with the aid of his brother, Lumumba Shakur, who was murdered around the time of Mutulu's arrest in 1986. Concluding Mutulu's trial, the sitting judge, Charles Haight, stated that the FBI used COINTELPRO tactics to violate Mutulu's rights in the late 1970s. Mutulu said that with extensive electronic surveillance, no tape-recorded evidence linked him to the Brinks truck robbery and murder. No fingerprints were found on any immovable objects, and 12 houses checked as to where the FBI purported the crime was planned. U.S. intelligence had used this case to arrest dozens of activists throughout New York State and beyond. Despite 115 witnesses and 532 exhibits, virtually the entire case rested on a paid government informant who actually committed the murder of the Brinks truck guard. Paid informant usually means undercover infiltrating agent. The government sentenced that informant to 6 years in jail and released him after 6 months. Mutulu was only convicted of conspiracy to aid bank expropriation, not the actual crime. He received 60 years imprisonment with a recommendation of no parole. Black Liberation Army member Sekou Odinga and Weather Underground activists such as Kathy Boudin and Marilyn Buck also received decades-long prison terms. And finally, Dr. Alan Berkman, a longtime activist, became the first doctor since the time of Lincoln's assassination to be imprisoned for providing medical aid to a fugitive. Agents and other reports noted how despite that the FBI purported to eliminate its counterintelligence program in 1971, the FBI continued it under different names. For example, in this court document, Judge Charles Haight found that police intelligence continued such tactics against the Black Liberation Movement's WLIB radio in the 1980s. After Mutulu had gone underground, Afeni moved her kids from house to house trying to get shelter. With the FBI helping block her employment, she was impoverished and desperate while still participating in activist projects. A drug dealer named Legs McNeil entered her life at this vulnerable time and, according to one interview of Afeni, stuck a crack pipe in her mouth whenever she came home at night. Researchers found a number of instances when U.S. intelligence likely used the tactic of placing an undercover agent in activists' life to manipulate them. For example, the head of the Vietnam Veterans Against the War found out his lover worked for U.S. intelligence to sabotage his work. Police intelligence also placed an undercover agent near Malcolm X's daughter, Kabila Shabazz, who helped frame her for conspiring to murder Louis Farrakhan, allegedly for his involvement in her father's assassination. Also, former Black Panther Lilu Lee produced the documentary All Power to the People. He cited U.S. intelligence's use of this tactic versus Huey Newton. The documentary includes many Black Panther leaders stating their belief that U.S. intelligence inserted an undercover agent lover into Huey Newton's life to manipulate him when he got out of jail in 1970. Researchers support that this lover and other undercover agent infiltrators convinced Newton to expel many Panthers, including Geronimo Pratt. Meanwhile, Tupac grew up with an extended family of Black Panther mentors, including Bronx Panther leader Sekou Odinga's wife, Yasmin Fula, seen here with Tupac and her son, Yafu Fula. Yafu later became Tupac's backup singer, Yak, aka Gaddafi, in the Outlaws rap group. Tupac starred in a play in Harlem and wrote rap songs, But when Harlem Reverend Herb Daltrey asked 13-year-old Tupac what he wanted to be when he grew up, Tupac said, "A revolutionary." Tupac kept to all of his ambitions. By 1984, Afeni moved her family down near cousins in Baltimore, Maryland. She fought to get Tupac into the Baltimore School for the Arts. Tupac excelled there and met lifetime friend Jada Pinkett, who later found success in Hollywood and also married actor Will Smith. At this time, Tupac attended meetings of the New African Panthers, the young adult group of the New African People's Organization, or NAPO. One of Tupac's lifetime mentors, former Ram-based LA Black Panther Watani Tayahimba, was a co-founding national security director of NAPO. By the end of Tupac's junior year of high school, several crack-related murders occurred in the Shakur's neighborhood. That summer of 1988, Afeni decided to move the family to Oakland and stay with Geronimo Pratt's wife, Linda Pratt. Before the end of Tupac's senior year of high school, the New African Panthers elected Tupac as their youngest ever national chairman. According to Tupac, the group attempted to replicate his mother's Black Panthers without making the same mistakes. NAPO National Chairman Chokwe Lumumba said Tupac had the top sales of NAPO's newspaper by any means necessary in California. Tupac started a newspaper insert, Panther Power, for his group. Both NAPO and the New African Panthers were active in 8 cities at that time. Tupac had also been rapping, doing musical benefits for his imprisoned godfather, Geronimo Pratt. He also said he was strategizing with both Pratt and the Black Panther Minister of Defense, which was Panther co-founder Huey Newton's title. Authorities had imprisoned Newton on a small charge in 1988 and incidentally put him in prison with Pratt at San Quentin. Pratt took Newton under his wing. The two compared their government files their lawyers had helped them obtain, and it ended the split the FBI and CIA had started against them. Here's an older picture of Pratt welcoming Newton when he first got out of prison in 1970, before Pratt's expulsion. When authorities released Newton from prison on August 22, 1988, he refused to leave and instead held a press conference the following day. This officially ended the FBI's 18-year split of 2 key leaders. Pratt convinced Newton to leave and work for his release on the outside. It appeared more than coincidence that exactly 1 year later, on August 22, 1989, gunmen assassinated Newton. Newton organized to release Pratt and talked to East Coast Panthers about reforming the Black Panthers. The FBI's LA COINTELPRO leader, Richard Held, had moved back to head the FBI's San Francisco Bay office in 1986. TV news stations caught him lying when he said they had no suspects, and witnesses described it as an execution rather than a random drug death. Martin Luther King's family lawyer, William Pepper, reported that they used this kind of threat timing tactic when they assassinated Martin Luther King on the anniversary of MLK's Riverside speech, officially coming out against the Vietnam War on April 4th in 1967. By 1990, Tupac Shakur decided to leave his New African Panther leadership to tour with the Grammy-nominated rap group Digital Underground. Here, Tupac's seen with Digital Underground on stage. He had already recorded an album's worth of songs in 1989, which a Digital Underground member found and produced in the late 1990s, titled The Lost Tapes. It included a song titled after his New African Panthers newspaper insert, Panther Power. The song's lyrics included lines such as, "Couldn't survive in this capitalistic government because it was meant to hold us back with ignorance. Drugs and sneak attacks in my community, they killed our unity." Here he had started writing songs with political terminology. He soon decided to keep political ideas in his lyrics, but gave up the terminology, apparently to not lose less educated fans. In 1990, Earth First environmental leader Judy Barry had launched the Redwood Summer Campaign to fight the destruction of the redwood forest from her San Francisco Bay Area office. Her successes had repercussions. A logging truck rammed into her car in 1989, nearly killing Barry and her kids. Someone had also nailed this picture of Barry playing a violin on her door, with rifle crosshairs over her and dog feces on it. Researchers stated that this was a known U.S. intelligence warning tactic. In 1990, a bomb went off under her car seat. She was paralyzed and died within another 6 years. The FBI first investigated Judy Barry and a passenger in Barry's car, Darrell Cherney, for planning to use a bomb themselves. After much protest, the FBI said they were looking for the perpetrator. Barry, known as Queen of the Quip, began to realize the FBI's corrupt attacks on protesters. At a news conference, she told the press, "I hope the FBI find their man, and when they do, I hope they fire him." Barry and Earth First filed a lawsuit against FBI Area Chief Richard Held and key police leaders. The suit eventually gained enough powerful support that it forced Richard Held into an early retirement in 1993. In the years before Held's retirement, several key attacks occurred on Tupac Shakur as he broke into the music world, leading Tupac to say, "I never had a record until I made a record." As Tupac's fame and wealth increased, promising more power and money behind his radical political agenda, the complexity of the attacks on him increased. First, Tupac landed a solo record deal for Tupacalypse Now that resulted in a worldwide MTV video release in October of 1991. Within several days, Oakland police stopped Tupac for jaywalking. As described in these official legal claim pages, police banged his head into a curb and choked him unconscious. News articles have reported at least 2 other cases where suspects have died in police hands from those same police actions. Tupac had already hired his New African People's Organization mentor, Watani Tayahimba, to work as his business manager. He hired NAPO National Chair Chokwe Lumumba to be his national legal consultant and to represent him on the police brutality case, in which he won a large settlement from the government. This funding of a national radical black organization's leadership gave the FBI even more reason to target Tupac. Within a year, Tupac had a debut lead role in the major motion picture Juice, which had its premiere in San Francisco. That night, Tupac experienced a drive-by shooting on his and his friend's limousine as they traveled from the movie theater to the after-party. The similar timing appears more than coincidental. More evidence of FBI Supervisor Richard Held's orchestration comes by way of witnesses catching plainclothes California police officers using an unmarked car to attempt a drive-by shooting of a police brutality witness in the 1990s. As Tupac's fame and fortunes rose, police attacks on the rap and film star increased. Tupac next starred in John Singleton's sophomore film, Poetic Justice, as the co-lead with Janet Jackson. Tupac's first CD, Tupacalypse Now, had gone gold, and his career was soaring. On August 22, 1992, the 3-year anniversary of Huey Newton's assassination, the most complex attack on Tupac occurred. At the Marin Festival in the San Francisco Bay Area, Tupac came as an honorary guest. As Tupac signed autographs for kids, a man amongst a group of strangers ran up to Tupac and punched him for no reason. Tupac's road manager and Mutulu Shakur's son, Maurice Mopreme Harding, blocked others in the group from attacking Tupac. Harding took a gun out and shot it straight towards the sky before he and Tupac took off running. Witnesses supported that at least one of the strangers fired his gun at Tupac, all in front of police, who failed to intervene or arrest the shooters. One of the bullets hit a boy nearby, but police only arrested Tupac and Harding, though they let them go with no charges when witnesses exonerated them. 3 months later, Vice President Dan Quayle denounced Tupac's debut CD in a nationally reported speech. Tupac had finished his second CD, Strictly for My Niggaz, in 1992, but his record label, Interscope, failed to release it. Tupac used this variation on the N-word as an acronym for Never Ignorant Getting Goals Accomplished in an attempt to reverse its negativity. Time Warner had a 25% stake in Interscope Records, and after Tupacalypse Now went gold, Time Warner bought another 25% share, gaining a dominant voice in the company. They then refused to release Tupac's second CD for another year. As the largest media company in the world, both Time and Warner had a history of supporting Republican candidates and conservative causes. For example, Time Incorporated's vice president, Charles Douglas Jackson, rotated back and forth as an architect for the CIA, heading their psychological warfare division for various presidents, and running Time magazine's empire. British editor Francis Stoner Saunders, whose book The Cultural Cold War is seen here, went through C.D. Jackson's letters, which showed that he ran many of these operations through Times magazines. These operations included targeting black musicians. This suggests that Time Warner refused to release Tupac's second CD because it made fun of President Bush and Vice President Quayle several times, and the presidential elections came up in November. Time Warner also censored many of Tupac's radical songs and videos for that CD. A year before, a court acquitted the white cops who were caught on video beating Rodney King. This acquittal sparked the LA riots in 1992. Fred Hampton Jr., the Chicago Black Panther leader's son, organized protests in Chicago. Hampton Jr. led the Illinois chapter of the socialist Uhuru group. Hampton said that one of the same police officers who targeted his father arrested him. He also said that people had made several attempts on his life, as his picture through his shattered car window exemplifies. Police also charged Hampton with arson.
Salute.
The judge said the building police charged Hampton for burning never actually had a fire. Despite that, Fred Hampton Jr. received many years in jail. When he was released, Fred Hampton formed the Prisoner of Conscience Committee, a nationwide activist group. Events around the LA riots also led Tupac Shakur to change his persona. Former Black Panthers and other activists had garnered a gang peace truce between leading Bloods and Crips gang sects in Los Angeles. As seen in this 1994 Los Angeles Times headline, these peace truces started spreading.
Salute.
They eventually went nationwide, and these gangs started turning into community activists. For example, one Crip leader talked at a conference sponsored by a black socialist group called Panther in England. Also, the Latino version of the Black Panthers, the Young Lords, influenced New York's largest gang, the Latin Kings, to participate in this movement. The video, Black and Gold, and the Columbia University Press published book, The Almighty Latin King and Queen Nation, detailed their activist conversion in the mid-1990s. Not long after the early 1990s Blood Crips peace truce, Tupac and one of his mentors had come up with a political plan. Tupac decided to take on a gangster rap persona in order to appeal to gangs and then politicize them. He did this as part of the peace truce movement, participating in a Bloods Crips peace truce picnic and other events. Tupac called this the Thug Life Plan. He and his still imprisoned stepfather, Mutulu Shakur, wrote up a code of thug life, reprinted in Jamal Joseph's book, Tupac Legacy. Joseph, formerly part of the Panther 21, later became director of Columbia University's film program. Joseph was also part of Tupac's extended family of ex-Panther mentors. The Code of Thug Life tried to lessen the harm gangs did to their communities. Mutulu eventually brokered a peace truce between the Blood and Crips gangs and the nationwide federal prison system. Tupac's Thug Life plan also attempted to politicize more rappers. Trying to spread the wealth, he formed a temporary rap group called Thug Life that put out a CD in 1994. Mutulu's son Maurice Mopreme Harding rapped in the Thug Life group. Police retaliated against the gang peace truce movement and Tupac, eventually with some of the same officers. They appeared to start using the same harassment arrest strategy against Tupac that they used against his mother's Black Panthers. Police arrested Tupac for many charges that were dismissed, such as saying he was smoking marijuana in public in a hotel lobby at an Atlanta National Political Rap Convention that had scheduled him to speak. At the next year's Atlanta Rap Convention, they charged him with slapping a woman who asked for his autograph, when witnesses said that the woman had actually started a fight with Tupac's companion, and Tupac just got between them to stop it. Another time in Atlanta, friends drove Tupac from a concert he had given, when witnesses say two off-duty white cops in street clothes were beating on a black motorist in front of the rapper. Tupac rolled down his window to ask what was happening. Both white and black witnesses say the white men then ran at Tupac's car, smashed Tupac's car window with the butt of a gun, and shot at him. Tupac reportedly rolled out of the back left seat and got a security guard's gun. The men started running partly sideways with a gun pointed back at Tupac, as they apparently hadn't expected the large group of people in Tupac's envoy to exit their cars to defend Tupac. Tupac had already gotten down on one knee and shot the men several times in the butt, back, and leg. The state used several excuses for dropping their legal case against Tupac for this shooting. Evidence supports that prosecutors actually dropped the case to avoid revealing police intelligence's botched attempt to assassinate new rap and film star Tupac Shakur. The two cops claimed to have been drinking that night, but they also were carrying a gun stolen from an evidence locker with which they shot at Tupac. As seen in a later, unrelated Tupac trial, testimony says that a police detective described such a gun as a throwaway gun. He reported that police use such a gun to drop in someone else's hand or get rid of when they kill someone and don't want the murder weapon traced back to them. The FBI worked closely with Atlanta Police Intelligence in 1993. They admitted collecting thousands of documents in their surveillance of Imam Jamil Al-Amin, who had changed his name from H. Rap Brown. As a student national coordinating committee leader and a one-time honorary Black Panther, Brown gave speeches nationwide. An hour after giving a speech in Cambridge, Maryland, two police officers fired shots at Rap Brown, leading blacks in that town to riot. U.S. Congress then passed the Rap Brown Amendment, making it illegal to cross state lines and give a speech that provokes a riot. During the rioting, Maryland police tried to arrest Brown, but his supporters snuck him out. A reporter later asked Brown if the rumors were true that they snuck him out in a coffin. Brown responded, "I've never said. The government probably would have liked me to leave in a coffin." Brown converted to Islam and became Atlanta's imam, or spiritual leader. As Imam Jamil Al-Amin, he headed their council of imams for a sect that included a majority of the world's Muslims. While his group cleared drugs out of neighborhoods, the FBI's undercover infiltrators of his mosque found no wrongdoing. In 1995, a man reported that police coerced him to say Imam Al-Amin shot him. In the later 1990s, much evidence supports that police framed Al-Amin for the murder of a police officer, and he now sits on death row. With the Atlanta police shooting at Tupac Shakur, U.S. intelligence appeared to use an even more sophisticated strategy against Tupac: psychological profiling. Huey Newton had written in his book, War Against the Panthers, how the FBI had used psychological profiling in unsuccessfully trying to assassinate him in the 1970s. In 1981, police shot former Philadelphia Black Panther leader Mumia Abu-Jamal. Jamal had worked as a radio journalist, receiving awards and leading the city's Association of Black Journalists. Mumia's radical journalism caused him to lose higher-paying jobs, so he moonlighted as a taxicab driver. One late night in December, a police officer started beating Mumia's brother, Billy Cook, on the head until he bled within eyesight of Mumia in his cab. Mumia came over to the scene and bullets rang out, leaving the police officer dead and Mumia wounded. Much evidence, including many witnesses and even an affidavit from one of the shooters, support that U.S. intelligence used psychological profiling to lure Mumia to the scene. Police intelligence could then kill Mumia, either there or with a frame-up for murdering the police officer. One of the shooters, a contract killer now in prison for another murder, said that corrupt police and mafia paid him to kill the police officer. He also said that another shooter finished the job and left the scene. Years later, the Village Voice and others quoted several witnesses that corroborated this account. U.S. intelligence had so far succeeded in framing Mumia Abu-Jamal with the murder, as he now sits on death row. A longtime court stenographer signed an affidavit attesting to the judge's collaboration within the U.S. intelligence's goals against Mumia. The stenographer said that when she came up to the judge in his chambers before Mumia's case, he said, "I'm going to help them fry the nigger." Acclaimed writers and artists, along with politicians worldwide, have unsuccessfully tried to gain Mumia a new trial, but he can be heard around the world on activist radio stations that play his weekly spoken essays from prison. Mumia Abu-Jamal has also written several widely praised books while incarcerated, such as the one seen here. 2 weeks after police shot at Tupac Shakur, a new so-called friend of Tupac's, set the rapper up on his infamous sexual liaison that landed him in jail. New York Haitian music promoter Jacques Agnant entered Tupac's life as the rap star worked on the set of his third film, Above the Rim. Tupac said constant arrests and what appeared as frivolous lawsuits had drained all of his money. Agnant, also known as Haitian Jack or Nigel, lavished Tupac with clothes and jewelry. Agnant also took Tupac to the most exclusive clubs that even Tupac said he wasn't sure he could gain entrance. At one such club, Jacques Agnant introduced Tupac to a woman who admitted kissing his penis on a dance floor. She then had consensual sex with Tupac that night. Tupac's activist lawyer, Michael Tarif Warren, said that she further left messages on his hotel answering machine saying she wanted to have more sex with Tupac. After the woman charged Tupac and Agnant with forcibly sodomizing her several nights later, police said they accidentally erased this taped evidence. Michael Warren had much experience working against police intelligence. He worked as the European spokesman for the Free Mumia campaign. He had also represented Tupac's stepfather, Mutulu Shakur, Pacifico radio journalist, and he had attained the reversal of convictions in the infamous Central Park jogger case. Warren first saw a longtime Police Benevolence Association lawyer bail out Agnant and represent him in court. Warren then attained Agnant's rap sheet that he said had a long list of major crimes up and down the East Coast, all dismissed. Warren said that this was a sure sign of an undercover police intelligence agent. The long trial went very poorly for the prosecutors. For example, police medical investigators reported no sign of forced sex during the incident. Near the last day of the proceedings, the prosecution ended up telling the judge that they had accidentally withheld evidence from the defense attorney and would accept a mistrial. Tupac rejected the offer of a mistrial, wanting to clear his name. The jury found Tupac not guilty of all major charges, including forced sodomy, attempting forced sodomy, assisting forced sodomy, and gun possession. As seen in this court document describing the counts for which the jury had found Tupac guilty, they only found Tupac guilty of touching the woman's butt against her will and for assisting Agnant touching her butt against her will. While the media has wrongfully characterized this conviction as rape or the more vague sexual assault, this court document spells out the actual charge for which prosecutors convicted Tupac. Tupac and the woman agreed that oral sex had occurred, and the judge ruled it consensual. Nonetheless, the judge sentenced Tupac to 1.5 to 4.5 years in prison. Attorney Warren said that prosecutors made a rare exception in allowing Jacques Agnant to sever his case from Tupac's, and they allowed him to settle for just 2 misdemeanors. New Yorker editor Connie Bruck wrote a comprehensive article on Tupac Shakur in 1997. She revealed that the district attorney covered up why Agnant received preferential treatment by both the district attorney's office and the purported victim. This and other revelations of government foul play in that article were the likely reasons that the FBI interviewed Connie Bruck after her article's publication, as seen in this FBI document. U.S. intelligence appeared to make another attempt to murder Tupac while the jury deliberated this case in November of 1994. An associate of Jacques Agnant had offered a large amount of cash to record a song at a Times Square recording studio. When Tupac entered the lobby, gunmen fired 4 bullets into the rap star, including 2 bullets in his skull, according to the doctor's affidavit seen here. The bullets miraculously missed Tupac's brain. Tupac, seen here carried away on a stretcher, started giving the finger to the media because of the way they constantly misrepresented attacks on him. Much evidence suggests that police intelligence orchestrated this shooting. For example, award-winning journalist Kathy Scott later reported that the security guard said he offered a police security camera videotape of the incident to the police. They refused it and closed the case. At this point in the analysis of U.S. intelligence's murderous targeting of Tupac Shakur and black leaders, it's important to look at the media misrepresentation of these events noted moments ago. Mainstream media's work for U.S. intelligence has a long history. This history first requires a look at U.S. intelligence's war on ethnic leftists. U.S. intelligence waged the longest war against the American Indians. Their genocidal policies included wars and constant mass displacements, such as the Trail of Tears. When the American Indian Movement, or AIM, arose in the latter half of the 20th century, more sophisticated murderous targeting developed. For example, within hours of AIM leader John Trudell burning a flag on the Capitol steps in the 1970s, someone set his house ablaze, killing his wife and 3 kids, seen here. The FBI branch of U.S. intelligence started with Attorney General Palmer's Bureau of Information. They led the infamous Palmer raids that rounded up thousands of Italian anarchists and other labor organizers. They notoriously executed Italian anarchist labor organizers Nicola Sacco and Bartolomeo Vanzetti, despite global protests about what appeared as a murder frame-up. Palmer's assistant, J. Edgar Hoover, helped change the Bureau's name to the Federal Bureau of Investigation, or FBI, by the 1940s. The FBI later participated in the prosecution of Jewish and purported communists Julius and Ethel Rosenberg in the early 1950s. The Rosenbergs, parents of 2 small boys, were the only people ever officially executed for treason during peacetime. Similar to the Sacco and Vanzetti case, global protests had failed to halt their execution. While the government claimed to execute the Rosenbergs for passing nuclear secrets to the Soviet Union, some evidence supports certain researchers' claims that U.S. intelligence executed them for a similar reason as they executed Sacco and Vanzetti. They say U.S. intelligence wanted to make examples of them to scare off other members of these ethnic groups who dominated anti-capitalist labor organizing. Later released government documents found that, similar to the trial of the Panther 21, the judge, prosecutors, and the FBI improperly talked throughout the trial to gain the Rosenbergs' prosecution. By the time of the Rosenbergs' trial, U.S. intelligence had gained a larger umbrella of bigoted, super-rich directors. The National Security Act of 1947 placed the CIA director as supervisor of all other 14-plus intelligence agencies. The highest-level CIA whistleblower, Victor Marchetti, an assistant deputy director, fought with the CIA to publish his censored expose, The CIA and the Cult of Intelligence. He and British editor Francis Stoner Saunders, among others, described the CIA founding leaders as coming exclusively from the wealthiest white Protestant families. The CIA showed its extreme prejudices when they colluded with British intelligence and other European intelligence groups to save many top Nazis. Insiders, such as U.S. Department of Justice prosecutor John Loftus, who led investigations of Nazi war criminals, documented this extensively in books such as The Secret War Against the Jews. Even George W. Bush's administration admitted to saving some 100 Nazis, though more careful researchers report that they saved thousands of Nazis. Through operations such as Paperclip, Sunshine, and Odessa, they shipped them around the world. A particularly large amount of them went to Latin America to gain control of resources there. U.S. officials have claimed to save Nazis to fight communists, but these Nazis actually fought against any form of democracy. For example, Western intelligence worked with them to carry out many coups against elected leaders in Latin America, amongst other operations. As stated in the caption, this first picture is of a Nazi flag waving in the Andes after a 1980 Bolivian coup. Professor Peter Dale Scott, a former Canadian diplomat and professor at University of California, Berkeley, wrote of how Klaus Barbie, the Butcher of Lyon, seen here, helped orchestrate that coup in Bolivia. Professor Scott also covered how Walter Rolf, seen left, was inventor of the portable gas chamber in his work for Hitler. Rolf then worked as a Chilean torturer for CIA directors such as Alan Dulles, seen right, after aiding the CIA-assisted Chilean coup of elected socialist leader Salvador Allende. This CIA document discusses their work with the coup plotters. The CIA then assisted in Chile-based multinational Operation Condor that assassinated Latin American leftists around the world, according to the New York Times, and detailed in this CIA document. These Nazis also advised U.S. intelligence in their cultural war against democracy at home and abroad. By 1977, Watergate muckraking journalist Carl Bernstein reported on the CIA's work in the media. Despite his fame from Watergate, Bernstein could only publish his article, CIA in the Media, in Rolling Stone magazine. He based his facts on the Congressional Church Committee findings that well over 400 members of the media lived dual lives in their work for the CIA. As seen in this paragraph, this number included the heads of virtually all mainstream news organizations, such as ABC, spelled out here as the American Broadcasting Company, NBC, CBS, the Associated Press, Time Incorporated, etc. Pulitzer Prize-winning journalist Ben Bagdikian, dean of the University of California, Berkeley School of Journalism, found other ways the wealthiest families control Americans' information. Besides directing the CIA, the wealthiest families own the most multinational corporations. In his book, The Media Monopoly, Bagdikian detailed how they share boards of directors with the media companies and that under law, the director of a company is obliged to act in the interest of his or her own company. Thus, oil companies, defense contractors, banks, insurance firms, and pharmaceutical firms who share directors with Time Incorporated, television companies, and big city newspapers should vote to censor information that can affect their profits. For example, Tupac criticized the government in having money for war, but they can't feed the poor on his second CD. Defense contracting company General Dynamics shared at least one director with Time Incorporated and would have supported the censorship Time Warner started against Tupac. Another defense contractor, General Electric, had bought NBC Television. And former CIA Director William Casey had the largest ownership in capital cities when they bought ABC. Wharton School of Business professor Ed Herman also wrote the book Manufacturing Consent with MIT professor Noam Chomsky, which analyzed the media business. They revealed other ways U.S. intelligence and the super rich control our information. Herman and Chomsky said that the Armed Forces Journal International revealed in 1971 that the Pentagon published 371 different magazines and journals. This made the Pentagon 16 times larger than the next largest American publisher. By 1982, the number of different Pentagon-published periodicals increased to 1,203. This might explain the magazine section of Barnes & Noble. Carl Bernstein's seminal article titled CIA and the Media took particular note of Charles Douglas Jackson, mentioned previously. Bernstein found agreement with Francis Stoner Saunders, who noted C.D. Jackson's revolving door between heading Time's media empire and many top magazines, and working amongst the CIA's leadership. Saunders reported Jackson's post as the presidential advisor on psychological warfare. In the 1990s, Time merged with Warner Brothers Film Company. They also partnered with music mogul Quincy Jones to start Vibe magazine, likely to give Vibe credibility. Time Warner's limitless money gave it market dominance. While black voices in top magazines showed positive progress, Time Warner appeared to have the goal of negatively influencing Black America, the same way they did the rest of America through the dozens of magazines and other media it owned. By 1992, the Los Angeles Times described how Time Warner's vast record label ownership included the great bulk of the rap stars. Advertisers and corporate interests also controlled most other music magazines, leading to further censorship of Tupac's life and times. At the start of 1995, a judge set Tupac Shakur's bail at $3 million and refused Tupac's offer of about $1.2 million. While Tupac resided in Rikers Penitentiary in New York City, his next CD, Me Against the World, opened at number 1 in the pop music charts. Many reporters interviewed him in jail, and Tupac spoke against the U.S. bombing of Bosnia. Authorities quickly moved Tupac 9 hours north to the maximum security Clinton Correctional Facility in upstate Dannemora, New York. U.S. intelligence likely did this to take away Tupac's media mouthpiece and to begin their use of penal coercion tactics on him. Prison officials worked with U.S. intelligence to damage the mind of political prisoners with these tactics. In this Amnesty International report, they described 8 penal coercion methods, all of which were used on Tupac, including his 10 months in solitary confinement. Guards also used torture tactics on Tupac in sticking their gloved fingers up his rectum. They pretended to look for contraband each time a visitor saw him, despite that a guard monitored these visits. The penal coercion aided what appeared as several U.S. intelligence plans for Tupac. The first plan involved strangers in jail telling Tupac that his friend, fellow rap star Biggie Smalls, aka Notorious Big, born Christopher Wallace, set up his New York shooting. Tupac also received anonymous letters saying that New York-based Biggie set up his shooting. California-based Tupac started to believe the idea, and the media hyped this as the East Coast versus West Coast rap war. U.S. intelligence successfully manufactured the East Coast versus West Coast Black Panther War using the same tactics versus California-based Black Panther founder Huey Newton and Afeni Shakur's New York Panthers. U.S. intelligence also appeared to have started a front company named Death Row Records in 1992. Death Row made regular, extremely generous offers to Tupac to join them before the rap star landed in prison. Death Row Records owners Suge Knight and Dave Kenner are seen here. Kenner, a white attorney, had made himself the actual power, enlisting himself as CEO of Death Row's umbrella company that he created. Knight is seen standing to the right of Kenner. The two Death Row heads flew from Los Angeles to New York with regularity to get Tupac on their label. In September of 1995, Tupac finally signed a 3-CD contract with them and was released from prison within days. This effectively ended Tupac Shakur's relationship with his top political mentors. His business manager, New African People's Organization Security Director Watani Tayahimba, said Tupac cried on his shoulder, saying he knew he was selling his soul to the devil. Tayahimba said that he and NAPO's national chair, Chokwe Lumumba, Tupac's national lawyer, didn't know exactly what Death Row was, but they knew that they couldn't have any connection with Death Row without risking their whole organization. In his book Dark Alliance, Pulitzer Prize-winning journalist Gary Webb detailed how a top national crack trafficker, Freeway Ricky Ross, had bought his crack from CIA-linked international traffickers. Webb said that Death Row's founder, Michael Harry O. Harris, was one of Ross's top 2 associates. Death Row CEO Dave Kenner was Harris's attorney. High-level Los Angeles police detective Russell Poole broke open to the public what his fellow police officers were doing inside Death Row Records. Award-winning filmmaker Nick Broomfield highlighted Poole, reporting his findings in the documentary Biggie and Tupac. Veteran journalist Randall Sullivan wrote his book Labyrinth on Poole and his findings. Detective Poole, seen here at a crime scene, found dozens and dozens of his fellow Los Angeles police officers at all levels of Death Row Records. Poole's superiors told him that these police officers in Death Row Records could be considered troubleshooters or covert agents. Poole found that employees of Death Row trafficked drugs and guns as well as laundered money. Death Row also helped break up political rap groups, such as NWA. They lured top rap producer Dr. Dre from NWA, and then they got him to stop criticizing marijuana and start promoting it. They also terrorized the political rap conventions that invited Tupac to speak. Death Row further helped instigate the East versus West rap feud. This was the feud that had Tupac in conflict with Biggie and Biggie's producer, Sean Puffy Combs, later known as P. Diddy, seen here. Knight and Death Row also tried to end the Blood versus Crips gang peace truce. While Tupac had worked on furthering the Blood-Crips peace truce, Suge Knight instigated fights between Bloods and Crips that he employed. These fights escalated to the point that a Blood gang member working at Death Row murdered a Crip gang member at a small Death Row concert. Despite witness reports, police failed to arrest anyone at this concert. Knight accomplished these actions with his head of security, a former Los Angeles police officer, Reggie Wright Jr. Reggie Wright Sr. headed the Compton area Los Angeles Police Gang Division. Detective Russell Poole ended up resigning from the police force when he said that his superiors blocked his investigation of Death Row Records. Before his resignation, he found that these 3 police officers played a large part in Death Row's operations. Rafael Perez, seen on the right, worked for the Rampart Division's elite undercover crash unit. The Los Angeles Police Department's crash unit participated in Operation Hammer, which conducted regular mass detentions. One such police sweep arrested over 1,400 people at one time for suspected gang activity. Only 32 of those 1,400 detained ended up with an actual charge. Best-selling author Mike Davis, who wrote City of Quartz, said police targeted gang truce leaders, and not even testimony from top politicians could stop their long-term imprisonment on reported frame-ups. Davis also said police raided gang truce picnics and dances. One such gang leader turned truce leader, Monster Cody Scott, wrote a best-selling book, Monster, released in 1993, about his conversion to leftist activism. He strategized with Tupac and Mutulu Shakur before changing his name to Sanyika Shakur. Los Angeles police arrested him again in the mid-1990s. Another way Suge Knight appeared to be carrying out U.S. intelligence operations was in terrorizing people in Death Row's studio in front of Tupac. In this and other ways, they appeared to continue the penal coercion tactics used on Tupac in prison. With Death Row, Tupac wrote his most negative lyrics. While in prison, Tupac had vowed to give up smoking weed. Upon leaving prison, Knight and Kenner reportedly gave Tupac much weed and alcohol, leading him to write many of his lyrics high and drunk within 24 hours of his release. Despite the negative lyrics, Tupac's All Eyes on Me double CD became the second fastest selling album of all time. It went triple platinum in 1996. By the summer of 1996, Tupac fought with Suge Knight, saying he completed his contract when he finished his next CD, released as Machiavelli's Don Columinati, The 7-Day Theory. Tupac had already started his own record company, Euthanasia, which Yasmin Fula ran. This picture shows Tupac's Euthanasia letterhead and regular payments from the new company to his stepfather Mutulu Shakur, his godfather Geronimo Pratt, and his mother Afeni. Afeni was still working for Pratt and Mutulu's release from jail. Yasmin Fula was married to imprisoned Bronx Black Panther Sekou Odinga. That summer, Tupac was also settling down, having moved in with his fiancée, Kadeda Jones, music mogul Quincy Jones's daughter. Jones said she and Tupac planned on having a baby, and Tupac had largely given up smoking and drinking at that time. At the end of August, Tupac signaled his exit from death row when he fired his death row attorney, Dave Kenner. 9 days later, Tupac had planned to attend the Mike Tyson boxing title match in Las Vegas. One of his two personal death row bodyguards, Kevin Hackey, tried to get Tupac to back out of going. Hackey later revealed that he was working undercover for the FBI at that time, but apparently turned on the FBI in telling Tupac not to go to Las Vegas. Hackey encouraged Tupac to move near his activist mentors in Atlanta. For that, death row fired Hackey. Hackey said that soon after, the FBI set him up on a gun possession charge and imprisoned him for months. Tupac attended the Vegas Tyson fight and headed for a post-fight concert in Knight's car. This is the last picture of Tupac taken minutes before his death. Death Row Security Chief Reggie Wright made the unusual move of keeping guards out of their car, taking guns away from the guards, and giving Tupac's other personal bodyguard a mobile phone without a battery. Gunmen did a fatal drive-by shooting on Tupac. Despite over 13 bullets fired in Knight's direction, not one directly hit him. Kevin Hackey said he had documents to prove that FBI and ATF agents were in Tupac's motorcade and watched his murder. As Tupac lay dying in the hospital, Knight reportedly sent cases of guns to Blood gangs and said the Crips shot Tupac. Many fatal shootings amongst the gangs ended the peace truce until activists spread the word that the Crips likely didn't shoot Tupac. Tupac died at the age of 25. The night of the next Mike Tyson fight, somebody fatally shot Yafu Fula in the head. Fula, seen here, was Tupac's backup singer as part of the Outlaws. He was also Bronx Black Panther founder Sekou Odinga's son and had told Las Vegas police he thought he could identify Tupac's murderer. Vegas police had told the media that there was no forthcoming witnesses. On Tupac's final completed CD, Don Columinati, The 7-Day Theory, he had lyrics discussing Haitian Jack Agnant, saying that he knew he was working for the feds or the FBI in setting up his New York frame-up and shooting. This dispelled the notion that Biggie Smalls set up the shooting, effectively ending the East versus West rap war. Tupac also played a radical political speech by Malcolm X on that CD. Tupac left hundreds of songs that Afeni Shakur went on to release as chart-topping albums. 8 months after Tupac's murder, gunmen murdered Biggie Smalls. They conducted a drive-by shooting in Los Angeles in 1997. The Los Angeles Times and other news sources reported that FBI and ATF agents, who also worked for the New York Police Department, had taken pictures of Biggie within minutes of his death. Los Angeles police allowed homicide detective Russell Poole as lead investigator in that case. Detective Poole found overwhelming evidence that his fellow police officers in Death Row Records murdered Biggie. He said that they did this to cover up their murder of Tupac by making it look to be part of the East versus West rap war. Following rapper Dr. Dre, who left Death Row Records a year earlier, rap star Snoop Dogg left Death Row and started meeting with Sean Puffy Combs to quell the rap war. Death Row guards attacked him and Suge Knight threatened his life. Knight further defied the judge's ruling and kept many of Tupac's recordings from Afeni Shakur. One of a few successful actions against U.S. intelligence came in 1997 when Geronimo Pratt's legal team won his freedom after 27 years of imprisonment. A judge declared that the government had falsely imprisoned Geronimo Pratt, who had changed his name to Geronimo Gijaga. The government offered several $1 million to settle a lawsuit by Geronimo's legal team that included years of legal research help by Afeni and Mutulu Shakur. Police foul play against rappers continued nationwide. Mainstream media reports ended up finding that New York and Los Angeles rap units trained police units nationwide in using FBI counterintelligence program tactics versus rappers. The FBI and ATF, the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms, became directly involved in targeting New York rap group Wu-Tang Clan, according to a Village Voice article. For example, an undercover agent became one of Wu-Tang Clan's managers, as the FBI explored bringing gun charges against the rap group. Undercover police also attempted to murder Wu-Tang Clan lead singer ODB, while ODB's brother had the group working with top Brooklyn activist Sonny Carson. The Miami Herald and other mainstream news sources eventually reported that New York and Los Angeles police departments had special rap units. The New York and LA units trained police units in cities nationwide. Evidence supports that these units use murderous counterintelligence program tactics against rappers. While police maintain that they only kept lists of rappers for legitimate crime investigations, many on these lists experienced COINTELPRO-type attacks, such as Wu-Tang Clan members. Other New York police targeting included Sean P. Diddy.
Revolutionary salute to our brother Vincent Brown for the donation to the war chest. Revolution is a way of life. I appreciate the love, family. Salute.
Combs and Run DMC's Jam Master Jay Mazzell. In the latter case, gunmen came into Jam Master Jay's recording studio and shot him in the head. Similar to the New York recording studio shooting of Tupac, police ignored a security camera videotape of the gunman. As they would regarding other murders of rappers, police stated that the murder may have been due to the East versus West rap war. In the late 1990s, Def Jam founding music mogul Russell Simmons organized the Hip Hop Summit Action Network, or Hassan. He appointed Sean P. Diddy Combs and other top rap industry figures, along with professors and politicians, to the Hassan Board of Directors. Hassan also came out with a 12-point political platform, not too dissimilar from the Black Panther Party's 10-point platform. Combs, a lead aide to Simmons on the project, came under attack after this project started. A gunman shot at him in a club, and New York prosecutors reportedly spent the most money ever to unsuccessfully attempt to convict him of a gun possession charge. Many on Simmons' Def Jam and Combs' Bad Boy rap labels also came under attack. For example, evidence supported that media and U.S. intelligence manufactured more fake rap feuds. Undercover agents are the top suspects in then carrying out shootings that have occurred around those rappers. Police have arrested them for frivolous charges related to these incidents. Evidence supports that police intelligence have targeted many other politically linked musicians. A Senate Intelligence Committee's report on U.S. intelligence abuses included an intelligence memorandum on the targeting of political musicians, reprinted in Alex Constantine's The Covert War Against Rock. Musicians targeted included Martin Luther King funder Harry Belafonte, SNCC supporters The Last Poets, Jamaican Socialist Prime Minister supporter Bob Marley, Rage Against the Machine, Spearhead, Dead Prez, Nas, The Coup, Mos Def, and Eminem, amongst others. In Los Angeles, the particular undercover police unit involved in Death Row Records went through the largest police scandal in decades, called the Rampart Scandal. An assistant state's attorney said that Detective Russell Poole's investigation sparked this scandal, named after the Ramparts division in which the officers worked. Poole said that the investigation of the scandal actually turned into a cover-up of what he had originally uncovered as Death Row Records police officers conducting murders, drug trafficking, and gun running. Death Row Records cop Rafael Perez was the state's top witness before lawyers found that he lied about his own drug dealing as well as his murdering of dealers to steal their drugs. It should be remembered that Perez worked in the Special Police Crash Unit that worked in conjunction with the FBI in operations following the LA riots. The Crash Unit was a Rampart unit, and around the same time, the Rampart unit came back into the news. A photographer spent decades trying to get back his film of Robert F. Kennedy's assassination from the Rampart Division's police unit in 1996, and the case finally reached trial that summer. A judge forced Rampart to give Enyart his roll of film, but Rampart said someone stole it out of a police car on the way to court. The Rampart Division was one of 18 Los Angeles police divisions. William Turner, a 10-year FBI agent turned journalist, and John Christian, a broadcast journalist for ABC News until 1966, did an extensive investigation. After 10 years of research, they wrote that Rampart worked to cover up the CIA assassination of leading presidential candidate Robert F. Kennedy in 1968. Turner, Christian, and other researchers cited how 13 bullets were fired, while arrested gunman Sirhan Sirhan had a gun that only carried 8 bullets. Furthermore, this picture of the official coroner, Thomas Noguchi, shows him at a press conference pointing a gun within an inch of the back of his head and describing from where the assassin fired the fatal bullets. Witnesses said that people grabbed Sirhan Sirhan when he was no closer than 2 feet in front of RFK. All evidence points to security guard Eugene Caesar, who worked for a startup security firm founded by a CIA agent. An associate of J. Edgar Hoover's said that Hoover disclosed that RFK's assassination was a CIA operation run by Robert Mayhew. As seen in this document, Mayhew worked as the CIA's link with Mafia. Martin Luther King family lawyer William Pepper said U.S. intelligence used Mafia to aid them with assassinations to provide them distance from the actual crime. Pepper detailed that U.S. intelligence contracted the Mafia to aid in MLK's assassination. Mafia aid was also suspected in the assassination of Tupac Shakur in Las Vegas. And few knew that the Mafia kidnapped guitar legend Jimi Hendrix for several days. Hendrix resisted Black Panther requests for financial help until Martin Luther King's assassination. By 1969, Hendrix dedicated his last album to the Black Panthers, spoke of the need for them in interviews, and discussed plans to start a radical political organization with other top musicians. U.S. and British intelligence appeared to collaborate against Jimi Hendrix. The FBI had Hendrix under regular surveillance. Hendrix's business manager, Mike Jeffrey, seen here, reported formerly working for MI6, which is Britain's CIA. Hendrix suspected Jeffrey of sabotaging his attempts to do political benefits, as well as getting him arrested and sabotaging his career. When Hendrix tried to fire Jeffrey,
R.I.P. Jimmy.
the mafia kidnapped Hendrix, and Jeffrey claimed to use bigger mafia to free him. Within 48 hours of Hendrix finally firing Jeffrey, he died. In 2009, Jimi Hendrix's road manager said that a drunken Mike Jeffrey admitted having associates kill Hendrix. The hospital doctor who first saw Hendrix just after his death supported the road manager's statement. The doctor said that Hendrix appeared to be murdered. Hendrix's fiancée, Monica Danneman, said that Jeffrey and others threatened her life if she ever published a book manuscript on Hendrix's radical politics and government foul play in his death. Within a year of publishing that book in 1995, she allegedly committed suicide. U.S. intelligence also had it in for another black music icon, Bob Marley. The CIA supported a candidate running against Bob Marley's friend, the socialist Jamaican Prime Minister Michael Manley. Marley planned to do a concert supporting Manley just before the upcoming 1976 elections. A gang associated with the opposition candidate shot Bob Marley and his wife Rita. While the two survived, Marley's manager said that the CIA then came to Jamaica and poisoned Marley. Marley continued singing "Stand Up for Your Rights" and calling for revolution, but that poisoning led to the reggae superstar's early death in 1981. In conclusion, while evidence supports that U.S. intelligence has targeted leftist black leaders with genocide, harder economic conditions may bring a more widespread onslaught. The Progressive magazine published a feature story in 2008 stating that the FBI deputized 23,000 managers of top corporations to form a group called InfraGard. The FBI said that members of this group could murderously shoot others without legal consequences. In these dire economic times, the bigoted super-rich murderers have expanded their scope.
Now, it's only right that we celebrate the revolutionary Tupac Shakur's birthday and the war on him by the FBI and federal informants, that we get to enjoy the two biggest federal informants and rats that came into Tupac's life, Haitian Jack and Jimmy Henchman. Just the federal informants and rats that he said they turned out to be. We need to hear them. Pac would love this. Oh, Pac would love this so much. They tried to take each other out, and they can't stand one another. They had to have a sit down over the phone that was recorded. But it's good to hear.
Yo. Yo.
They tried to kill.
Yeah. Everybody's on.
What's happening, man?
See,
Yeah, I'm on.
only a matter of time. These two scandalous bastards who altered the course of rap history forever, and people don't even want to tell you. I was talking about Big and Pac. You nigga, Jimmy Henchman and Haitian Jack, nigga. You gotta mention them. Them extorters. Them blackface Ku Klux Klan members. But after shaking the whole industry down and working for the government, remember, the government's gonna let Jimmy Henchman do this until he tried to take 50 Cent out. And then they went here and said, oh, no, 50 worth way too much for us. He making us too much. You got to go, Jimmy. If Jimmy wouldn't have been so narcissistic and his hate for 50, because 50 was praising Pac, he couldn't have that. He would still be around because they needed him, a federal informant like him.
He's on.
I'm on. What's happening?
I'm good, man. I can't hear you that clear, though.
Hello? Can you hear me?
I can hear you. I can hear both
better.
of you guys. Yeah.
Yeah, you can hear him. I can hear you.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, I hear you now.
Yeah, what's happening, man?
Nah, the conversation is not really going to be an even-handed conversation. Why? Because Jimmy Henchman is locked up. and Haitian Jack is still a federal informant who is free.
Slow motion, man.
Well, you on an island with, you could make some moves, man. I'm on an island that I can't make nothing.
Well, listen, like I was telling Bus before, man, something I could do for you, man, that can help you get out of there, man. Lawyers can't do nothing for you, You know where I'm at. You know who I'm going to be. What they can do. Like I told Buster, man, I don't have nothing against you, dog. I just never knew what you hated about me so much, but I ain't got nothing against you.
Mm-hmm. Here's the thing, Jack. I've never had nothing against you. You let these niggas say all these things about that I've done this and that. You would think, nigga, that every fucked up shit that happened to a nigga in Brooklyn that I had something to do with. But at the end of the day, right? And so that we can move forward.
You heard him? Remember Pac said, Biggie told him, man, I'm not fucking with these Brooklyn niggas. Who the hell do you think he was talking about? Biggie was warning him about these niggas, but especially Jimmy Henchman.
My only problem that I've always had with you, in which me and you had the conversation face to face, was that it just seemed like I was always a topic of conversation every time it came to something, and it was a lot of times disrespectful. Let me tell you something, Jack. I've never, ever, outside of maybe a few niggas around me from the time when that thing happened by your shop with the Spanish dude, outside of that, and the reason why that happened was only because it had something to do with my money. If it wasn't for that, I would have had nothing to do with nothing with them kind of things happening. So what I'm saying is this, man, is that when it came down to where like it was a problem between me and you, I just felt like the card kept being pushed when it should have never been pushed against me and you. Every single time a LA nigga came to me and was like, yo, you and that nigga cool? One time some some Bay niggas came to me, said they just got off the phone with you. I was like, oh, okay, he a good nigga. They said, God damn, nigga, man, you know why I fuck with you, nigga? Because that nigga didn't say that about you. And we know that y'all niggas got a problem, and you ain't saying nothing bad about that nigga. Because I ain't gonna talk to no nigga. I know them niggas hate me just as much as they hate you. So I'm not gonna talk to no nigga about you to them niggas. And so that was what always bothered me about with me and you. If it wasn't that, I would never have a problem. I would never even
these bastards been cursed ever since Pac put their bitch ass in Machiavelli. They thought they were gonna get away, nigga.
Anything about you if I did have a problem with you. Because I know that, see, when you talk to a nigga and you tell a nigga how much you don't fuck with me, that puts my life in danger. And I know the power of me telling niggas the same thing about you. So because of that, I'm not going to say nothing fucked up about you. If me and you got a problem, me and you got a problem. And me and you as grown men will deal with it. So, for example, the other day, Lil Dementio's son came and asked me to do an interview because he's doing a documentary on his father. You know, he asked me some of the good niggas that was around. I told him, I was like, yeah, Jack was one of the niggas that was around him, good niggas. I still don't say nothing fucked up about you. You know what I'm saying? I still don't say nothing about you.
I'm listening.
HJ is letting us do
it. Basically, niggas kidnapped me in Miami. I had nothing to do with you.
Now, pay attention to what Haitian Jack. You see, Haitian Jack let that nigga lie. I've never said nothing ill about you. You telling them LA niggas, you don't fuck, that put my life in danger. Now, Haitian Jack said, I'm listening to this. Okay, so the Miami niggas getting at me. They ain't had nothing to do with you. Jimmy Henchman sick them Zoes on this nigga. They tried to cut Haitian Jack, and Haitian Jack is confronting them and let them know, you think I don't know you the one sent them niggas after me?
I didn't find out about it until after. And that's when I understood the power of words. That's when I understood the power of words.
You a lie. Do you hear this nigga? He say, look, I didn't find out till after. And that's when I figured out the power of words. Nigga, it took you all this time to know if you tell them killers you don't fuck with Haitian Jack, that they gonna try to kill him in Miami, you a damn lie, nigga. But Haitian Jack, little slippery, slimy federal agent, he made it out of that.
I'm be honest with you, my nigga, because before the shit even happened, every nigga that was around you knew it was gonna happen. Tess told me about it. Bongo told me about it. They told me be careful. Jimmy's trying to find where you at in Miami. So, you know, why would
Jimmy, why you talking that shit? All them niggas around you who still scared of me told me be careful. Jimmy trying to find where you at so they can kill you.
Some niggas say that, you know, and then later on niggas try to cut me in my face. So, you know what I'm saying? If you're gonna be honest about
ain't no honor among Steve.
You gotta be brutally honest, my nigga.
Hold on. Check this out, though.
These niggas set up pop.
At the end of the day, here what happened. Now, there was a chick, when you landed on the bus, there was a chick that motherfucking came and told them niggas because they couldn't find me. She went and told some niggas, she said, yo, tell that nigga be careful. Because this nigga got a pistol on him, and he said that he had a problem with it. Dude, they couldn't find me. Because I was in Orlando, huh? I don't know who the chick is. I just know that a chick came to them niggas because she knew that we was around. And I'm gonna tell you exactly how it happened. When I was in Orlando, them niggas didn't know that I went to go see my family in Orlando. And what happened was she came to them niggas and said, yo, this nigga just got off of a tour bus. And he had a pistol on him. He pulled it. This is what they told me. She said the nigga pulled it out. And the nigga said he had a problem with homeboy. So they were telling me to be careful. So them niggas took it upon themselves.
Look at this shit. They was telling me to be careful, Jack. They say you flashing a gun. I didn't tell them niggas to go hunt you down, try to kill you. They just tried to kill you, Jack.
To do that. Now,
it's a dirty nigga.
I drove back in that night. Yeah, them niggas told me what happened. It wasn't like I was out there.
Niggas said that I pulled out a pistol and said I got a problem with you.
That's what they said the bitch said to them. That's what they said the chick said to them.
Rise up, man. When have you ever known me to pull out my pistol and show to somebody and tell them I got a problem with somebody? What have you ever known that? What have you ever known that?
But I'm just saying, I'm telling you, asking
he made it up.
What you know what I'm saying? And I'm telling you, how would I know you came on a tour bus, my nigga? How would I know?
That's not when the incident happened. That's not when the incident happened, though. The tour bus thing was me and Dallas and Monzo, all of us. John and Uzi went down to a New Year's Eve party. That wasn't when the incident happened. We went down there with the New Year's Eve party and everybody went back home. That was that. Nobody pulled out no gun. Niggas came, had a good time and left. The incident didn't happen until after I came back down to Miami. Do some shit with East Smooth and Sight. That's when this incident happened. Ain't nobody came out with no gun. I was on a tour bus, but everybody was having a good time, came out, had a good time and left. Now you gonna tell me, somebody tell you, I showed them a gun and told them, I'm down here.
The chick
you and I got a problem.
Nah, the chick didn't say you came down there for me. The chick said that you showed them the pistol. This is what they said to me.
So
I never
had to die.
They said they felt that you was a danger to them. Not only to me, they felt that you was a danger to them. So it wasn't like I put a hit out on you or whatever. Unfortunately, my nigga, if it was a hit, it would have been different, man. It wouldn't have been. I wouldn't have been like, yo, you a dangerous nigga like any other nigga is dangerous. It would have been. I'd have took it more serious.
You guys, it could have always been different, my nigga. If you just pick up the phone and call me and me sit down somewhere. Instead of them little clown niggas. The problem with you, Jimmy, you real smart, but you don't have smart niggas around you.
Check that nigga.
That's what I'm saying, my nigga. You got too much yes men around you. Unless you have smart niggas around you, situations like what you in right now will happen. If you was moving by yourself, stop fuck with these niggas like I told you not to fuck with blacks. Now, like, you didn't listen to me, my nigga. You told me that was your nigga, right? But I saw right through him. You understand? The nigga that was your only friend that could have really made sure everything was right. You talking to him on the phone, though. But you couldn't see past whatever it is you got against me, my nigga. You understand what I'm saying to you? I'm the only one that told you, yo, these niggas is idiots you around. That nigga's an asshole. This nigga's a dick. No. But all them niggas was cool. You know why I didn't? Because they listened to you. They did whatever you told them. And that's not a good nigga. That's not a smart nigga. With me, I like niggas around me like you around me that can think. That's a thinker. That can do shit on his own without me having to supervise anything. You like yes men around you. And see them niggas right there, Jimmy? They gonna fuck you over every time. Every time. The reason I'm free, Jimmy, is because I don't have niggas around me. I don't have no crime me. That's the reason I'm free. If I had a crime me, I'd be sitting right where you at. Give it to you though. You smart, sharp. You don't have sharp niggas around you. That's the only problem. You can't account for everybody. You can only count.
So you're saying, Jack? You say I'm not sharp?
No, I said you a sharp nigga. I said you a sharp nigga.
No, he's talking about that's Buster. That's Buster.
But you don't. Listen, you're a sharp nigga. You don't have sharp niggas around you. I ain't talking about Buster. We ain't talking about Buster.
No, Buster asked.
Don't put Buster with the rest of them niggas.
Buster asked you, is he sharp? No, that was Buster asking you, was he sharp?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, of course. Buster, my listen, man. Buster, let me tell you something, Jimmy. Buster's my nigga, right? Buster's my nigga no matter what. Bryce is my nigga no matter what. But me and you got nothing to do with these two men. You know, they try their best to stay out of it. You know what I'm saying? But they're the only way that I'm going to be able to talk to you. You're going to be talking to me because I'm not going to talk to nobody else. I'm stuck with Buster and Bryce, right? But my thing is, you got.
But here's the thing, Jack. Before you go,
if you got two sharp niggas around you, hold on, Jimmy. If you got two sharp niggas around you and 8 dummies, who you think gonna win?
Yeah.
No, you're right.
Yep.
You only saying that because you locked up and you need help.
That's crazy. What number is this? Huh?
Yeah, I'm right here. Right here.
Go ahead.
Okay.
I can barely hear Jimmy Austin. I got.
He can hear me, or he can't hear me.
Yeah.
I can hear you guys.
They jealous. They hate you for Pac.
Yeah, I can't hear you clear, but I just can't hear Jimmy because I gotta really strain it.
Now they want to kill each other.
Now I'm here, man. I ain't really saying nothing, but what but you know the thing is if you think I hated you that much, right? You think I know that Bryce and Buster taught you. I've never told them niggas because I knew that whatever problem we had, it was just between me and you. It wasn't a problem. Like I'm telling niggas yo man, we need to get this nigga. Don't fuck with this nigga. I wasn't telling nobody that. Even Akon, when I sent them down to Haiti to do that thing with Wyclef, and he came back and he told me he met you and woo. I've never asked that nigga. I've never hated on him. And that's a nigga that I have influence over. I've never told that nigga not to fuck with you. Never, ever. I've never asked why.
I told that nigga something, dog. Let me ask you
Told
something.
everybody else. Ain't trying to get him whacked.
I've heard about times when you had your round tables, you, Ricky Lee, I heard Lennox Lewis was there, the car nigga, what's his name? Forgot his name. Mark. All these niggas came, Mark came back, I gotta be honest, I was supposed to listen to Ricky Lee, man. Ricky Lee sat at a table with you and heard you say that you gonna kill me and you gonna do something. And Ricky Lee ain't pick up the phone and tell me nothing. But there was a chick in the room, my nigga, and there was a nigga from the Shine room. They told me what was being said about you and what was going on, and that you was one.
You see, you can't trust these niggas, Jimmy and Henchman, but Haitian Jack know that. And he wished Jimmy would get out so he can get rid of them. They want to get rid of each other. It only could be one federal informant at the end of the day. And here Jimmy Henchman was. I don't be hating on you, the Akon, and I got influence over Akon. Jimmy said, listen. Haitian Jack said, man, listen, maybe not him, but I know about your round table meeting you had, nigga. He didn't name, just so he know he wasn't bullshitting, he named about 3-4 niggas that was in that meeting. Just to hear you say, you was gonna kill me. Come on, man. You was telling hitters to kill me, Jimmy. Stop.
Educate me. But let me tell you something. I've never told anybody to do anything to you, right? Or I never sent nobody at you. You know why? Because those kind of lines, once you cross those kind of lines, there's really no calling it back. Then if you're trying to hurt me, my nigga, then there is no friendship. Because friends can agree to disagree. You know what I'm saying? That's what me and Ricky got in a
See, remember, they also on the phone, so they can't really. So Haitian Jack just threatened him what I threatened. He just told him, once you try to hurt me, and he told him, nigga, you tried to kill me in Miami, nigga. And then you had a round table meeting. So he letting Jimmy know, don't think I'm stupid. You'll never get another chance.
100 arguments. But you never heard me send nobody at Rick or Rick send nobody at me. Yes, because we can agree to disagree, my nigga. But you can't do that. You can't do that. Not when it comes to me anyway. The nigga 50 gets that every month on the internet. You only upset when you hear my name. That's the only time you really get upset, my nigga.
Well, I'm in here for 50. Ain't nothing that I can do about 50 with his nonsense except deal with that when I get a chance to deal with it. Trust me,
a lunatic, bro. This is a psychopath. You on the phone, it's been recorded, you in federal prison. Yeah, I'm in here because of 50. And there's nothing I can do about that right now. Until it's a time I can do something about that. Bro, cut it out, bro. That's why your ass in there now. You just can't stop trying to kill people.
Yeah, I'm a deal with it.
I heard that.
But what I'm saying is nothing I can do about what 50 is doing. You know, when them niggas send they family members to come testify on me in X, Y, and Z, I don't go to the press about it. You know what I'm saying? I do none of that shit. I'm not doing none of that.
And you're not supposed to. You're not supposed to. You're not supposed to, because that's where you gotta be smart at. If I get mad at everything every nigga about me on the internet, my nigga, I'd be right where you at. Even if I send a nigga, when I send a nigga, then what? The nigga get knocked, then what? Then what? Jack sent me. Then what? You gotta let that shit go, my nigga. You gotta let some of that shit go, my nigga. You know what I'm saying? Let it go. Listen, man, the only thing you can do with these jokers, my niggas, I live them. Let them keep talking. I just know what I do with niggas these days. I put them in God's hands, my nigga. That's how I'm gonna deal with it. Put you in God's hands. Because if I put you in my hands, I'm end up in jail. And I'm too old for it, my nigga. I'm 55 years old. Any bit I have me a senior citizen.
You're a young boy, man. You're a young boy. 55, you're a young boy.
It's a funny dude. It's a funny dude.
But 10 more years, nigga, I can collect Social Security in 10 years.
You ain't lying, bro. We all old now. You know what I'm saying? I've been down 7 joints.
Yeah.
Niggas is old.
The reason I agreed to this call, you know why I agreed to this call, my nigga? I agreed to this call because I feel like this. Like, I gotta let it go. For me to get my blessings, you to get yours, we gotta let it go.
You ain't getting no
blessings. And what's all there is out there is out there. What's out there is out there. What you said about me, what I said about you, that's already out there. But I'm just telling you this. You're not going to hear nothing about me no more. But I'm going to tell you, we have to let it go. If you don't let it go and stay on this gangster shit, right?
Amen. Amen.
I'm going to get at this nigga. I'm going to get at that nigga. Yeah, right? Yep. We get on this gangster shit, right? How long do you think that these white folks don't let us keep doing this gangster shit, right? We did it from the 70s all up to the 2000s. You think they don't keep going?
Yep.
Right? I'm 55 and I realize one thing, my nigga. I got a beautiful granddaughter and I want to see her physically, not behind the glass. I want to touch her and talk to her. You know what I'm saying? I'm not with that shit, my nigga. And I wish, let's say something, man. When we were out there together, my nigga, believe me, I was the only nigga that would have told you right from wrong and made sure nothing happened to you. And I could point out who was not right to be around you. But you couldn't see listening to me, man. If you listened to me, man, you would not be where you was at. And I wouldn't be here.
Yep. I agree with you.
And that knife, he training that knife.
Okay? We're supposed to be out there. Whatever I couldn't handle from the left, you handle it for me on the right. That's how it's supposed to be.
Brooklyn forever. That's what I'm saying.
You niggas set up Tupac, you jealous fucking haters. Ha! Now this nigga is riding in jail till the police finally let him out for good behavior. That means he give up all kind of crimes. And this nigga, Haitian Jack, is still not able to come into America. He ain't work. He ain't gave him no big bus lately. You know, so he's still hiding out on the islands. People want his head too, like Jimmy Henchman.
Yeah,
bro,
exactly. Like
look how I stayed out of that.
Motherfucking Cuda and Steve Stout, right? Right in front of Steve Stout and Cuda told you fuck with me. You said in front of Steve, and Steve caught me right after that. Jimmy, right? And I was at the meeting with Jimmy and Cuda, man. And Cuda told Jack. And I told you about that situation. You know? I said, damn, homie, why would you say fuck me and me and you is cool? And I tell these niggas we cool. You told me, man, you know what, my bad. You admit that you said it. You know what I'm saying? But I'm just saying, why would you say that?
Yeah, but you know, I'm glad to hear that you guys just talking while I eat my pizza, and you guys just talking. I feel good. I feel like I accomplished something. I feel like this is a beautiful day.
Like I said, bro, time to let it go.
I'm done with it.
Every time I turn around, every time I turn around, I saw one time your lawyer said Jack is down there in DR protective custody. I said, what's wrong to do with his case? But this nigga's lawyer, they be telling motherfuckers I'm in the DR. I'm not in the protective custody. Everybody come down here, come see me. We talk, we take pictures, and I'm down here under my real name. Really?
When did my lawyer say that?
They had in the newspaper, dog. Jack Littman, John Littman, whoever that lawyer was. I've seen it in the newspaper. They could send me the article.
Then that means you could Google it and you could be able to find it. Here you could Google it.
Yeah, you can Google it. Yes, you can Google it. You can Google it.
I've never seen where this dude said anything like that. If you could send that to Buster so I could see it, I'll check that nigga about that shit personally, bro.
Yeah, I'll try to find it. But you can Google it, my nigga.
All right, hold on for a minute, guys. Hold on for a minute.
What's going on?
Hold on, Jack. This is something that we have to get fast forward. Jack said how some nigga named Big Zo. Explain to him, Jack, because you can explain to him.
Yeah, Big Zo
sent that Big Zo shit.
Big Zo sent a check and screenshot it. I sent it to Bus. Where the nigga said, yeah, you fake ass nigga, you bitch ass nigga, I'm gonna catch you in LA or New York. You know what I'm saying? You know, ain't nobody gonna protect you, especially not no nigga from the DR. Which he's referencing to me. So first thing I'm trying to figure out, he said, you're a fake ass friend. So first thing Brian says, number one, he already know what this nigga's talking about. That's number one, right? Number two, he's wondering, why is the nigga referencing me and DR? And the nigga said that he Prod said something bad about you. So Prod's been down here to see me twice. That man has never said nothing bad about you, except that you reached out to him, and his people are telling him, stay away from that. So it scared him. That's the only thing. When you tell him he want to talk to you, well, I wouldn't do that if I was you. You know, right now you work with Obama. You need to stay away from certain things. That's all that nigga ever said, homie. Never said one bad thing about it.
That had to be 6 years ago. That in between 6 years ago and now, I've never tried to reach out to Prod. I don't even have Prod's number.
Okay, well, somebody reached out to him and said, on behalf of you, that he was a fake friend to you, and that a nigga like me and the DR can't protect him. You know, he talking bad about you. Yeah, I heard you down in DR talking bad about Jimmy.
But yo, how would I know that Prod's is in DR? How would I know that?
What you say, Jimmy?
I don't know.
No,
That
I'm
ain't hard.
just saying, how do I know? People know. You think I really sit here thinking about what niggas is doing out there? For 7 years, you think I've been to 4 trials, my nigga, in 7 years. You think all I can think about in between them 4 trials is what niggas is doing and traveling to, and who's friends with who?
Well, that's what me and Prod say. I said, I know Jimmy's not thinking about this shit, but with all that he got to say. This? Worried about if Prod came to the DR and said something about it? Well, listen, Bus got the nigga number, man. The nigga that I got my screenshot when he wrote the Prod.
I got the number, so I had this girl running the number for me. I got this girl running the number. So.
You got who? Prod's number or the Big Zoe nigga number?
Yeah, that Big Zoe nigga. Jack sent it to me.
Why you don't call the number? What happened? Why you don't just call the number?
Who, me?
Yeah.
Who, Prod?
Prod
ain't on this. Prod's a scary nigga, man.
Wait, hold on.
So listen, bro,
so you,
about this.
If you want me to call the dude, I'll call him. But what I want to do, I want to run the name first to get a number, to get a name on the dude. That's what I want to do before I do call him.
Yeah, I don't know.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, do that.
He's doing this shit on behalf of you.
Yeah, because
that's somebody just using my name, bro. That's just somebody using my name. But man, listen, man. In conclusion with this, bro, I don't have a problem. And if a nigga tell you I said something to him about you, you know, look, I talked to Benny Boom. You know, all them niggas say that you say bad things about me, man. All I ever told them niggas to tell you is, man, keep me out of it. Whatever story he's telling, I don't want to be a part of it. I'm in too much trouble to be in nobody's story. Right? That's all I've ever said. You know what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, I don't have a problem.
Yeah.
I don't have a problem with
Liar.
you. I don't have no problem with you, man. I have no reason to be jealous of you. I have no reason to feel a way about you. I don't feel like you're the reason why I'm in here. I don't feel like none of that stuff. I'm cool, man. I know who my enemies are, and that's all I'm focusing on, is defeating my enemies and getting back on the road.
You'll never defeat
nothing else.
It goes to Tupac riding.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
What's your attorney talking about?
I'm waiting on you know, I just blew trial again, so I'm waiting on my appeal stuff and all of that stuff. You know, I got a hearing coming up.
They just taking your money, my nigga.
It's all good, brother. We ain't got no problem.
Asian Jack, twist that knife one more time. Hey, what's how your case going? You know what's up with that nigga case? He washed up. He said, yeah, I got an appeal coming. I'm gonna get back in court. Hey, Jack, to twist that knife. Oh, this is to twist that knife. Let the nigga know, nigga, I'm on an island. Your ass is locked up forever. Hey, Jack said they just taking your money, my nigga. Like, nigga, you know you finished, right? Oh, that's crazy.
He had a 50-year-old man.
Dog, I told Buster. Listen, I've been telling Buster you all your whole life, bro. I never had no problem with you. I never sent no niggas at you. I never tried to get nobody to hurt you. None of that. You know what I'm saying to you? That's the difference from what I've been hearing differently, where niggas that say, yo, that nigga this, that happened because of such and such. That happened because I'm like saying, God damn, if we gonna call ourselves friends, my nigga, and I've had plenty of arguments.
Y'all ain't
Scooter,
friends.
Rick, Anthony Brown, we never crossed that line, my nigga. Trying to hurt one another. Never.
Well, you and Anthony Brown try to hurt each other, man.
I don't.
Well, guys, this phone is going dead, so I don't know if it might.
Cultfigga. Follow me.